will do the clerk, we'll do capital, finance and capital, and then there's a few things
Okay.
that,
So we'll do
we need to go
admin
over that I
first,
want to talk to you about.
Do you have, I have to read the open public meetings,
Yeah, I put the agenda on.
oh, okay.
It really is easier if everybody calls in, even if they're there, because it just, the people who are in the room, when they're not on the phone, it is a little hard to hear them.
A lot hard.
Okay, so it's 7 o'clock. Do we have a quorum, Lizette?
Yes, we do.
Okay, I'm going to read the Open Public Meetings Act, then say a little something to get this kick started, and then we'll be off to the races. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are listed in the annual agenda. Copies are sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press, and posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. The notice of the special budget meeting via the March 13th, 2020 sunshine notice has been sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press, has been posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and Borough website. Just before we start with public comment, I just want to say that this budget has been taking a lot of energy and work on everyone's part. There's been a lot of input, and I want to put out there that I think we're operating under some relatively more stressful than usual situations. There's a lot of balls in the air. There's new leadership at Borough Hall. Some leadership has changed. We have 2 new council people. We have a capital budget that is much more aggressive than usual. And next thing you know, we're hit with coronavirus. And in response to that, we've got a brand new technology set up we're trying tonight. We tried it a little bit last time also. But there's a lot of factors going on here. The state's not allowing any of the municipalities to extend the budget time. So there's a lot of stress going on. And I think we just take this one step at a time, take a step back and go through it, and we'll get through all of this and get it done. Okay, the first item on the agenda is public comments. Lizette, are people going to email in, or do you have anything there?
From the posting I put on the website, people had until 6:30 this evening to send me an email with questions, and I did not receive any.
You have not received any?
I have not received any.
Okay. Okay, so
Can you
then,
make that known to anything outside of our actual website?
say that again, please.
Laura
Did we
wanted
make
to
it
know.
known outside of our actual website that we should be having residents do this?
No, we did notice through our website only. Okay, so the first item on the agenda, Susie, is the administration and borough clerk. You want to take us through, please, the remaining items on that?
Okay, in administration, we are starting,
We left off with historic preservation, so we're starting on environmental commission, page 17.
Vanessa has a question.
Actually, not so much a question, but,
I have, page 16. I can't hear you, Vanilla.
okay, so not so much a question, what I wanted to ask, at the risk of going backwards for a quick second, is the Human Resource Department. We have the salaries and wages at $100,000 for that. Considering that it'll be in the middle of the year if when we're hiring someone, that should, I think, be prorated to $50,000. Am I wrong?
Was that, you have,
Susan,
with the
okay,
music
what
set.
Benu had mentioned is going back to page 11 on the human resources, since the person will not be in place until probably mid-year, to prorate that department, including the salary, by half. So instead of the $100,000 salary listed, to reduce it to $50,000.
Okay, I'm gonna, does everybody agree on that? Because I will put it in right now.
Anyone who objects, please say so.
I'd like to do the same exact thing with the floater then.
Okay, all right. So
I actually think the
I
floater would
need
be,
to know if anybody objects so that I do this.
Hearing no objections, that's, the human
wait,
resources.
I have a question. I have a question on it. Can we try not, can we give each other a chance to think? Are we still gonna advertise that the position's at 100 or somewhere close to?
The salary was not in the advertisement, it's contingent upon qualifications.
Oh, but when they ask us, we'll say the annual salary is close to that.
Well,
Okay.
it would still be
So I'd like,
salary. It would still be at a salary range, just that we know that we're not gonna be hiring the person for the full year, so we can adjust it, but then I want everybody to keep in mind, next year, you're gonna have to pay this person whatever it is, too, just so you know.
I would like to
If you
propose,
take 50,000 out, next year that 50,000 is gonna go up. So we can do this, but nobody's gonna have to probably cut somewhere else in the budget next year. So
I would like
I'm
to
gonna
propose
put
that this is for both positions.
So
The
is there a
HR
question
that
on
we're
the
hiring
table?
and the floater that we're hiring.
Well, the
And for any-
floater will be under the clerk's department, so we'll discuss that when we get there. Right now, we're on administration.
Okay, so
I
I'm
thought
going to
floater was under-
change that right now.
Wait, why is
Okay.
the floater under admin? Hold on a second. Why is the
Okay,
floater under
let's
admin?
resolve the issue of the HR salary first. So what's the question on the floor here?
You already resolved it. HR is going to 50.
I can't really hear Susan.
I said HR is going to 50,000 for 6 months.
Correct.
Okay.
Real quick question, have we gotten any resumes yet? I know there were some ads.
Yes, we have about a good 6 resumes. The deadline is the end of this month, so there's still time to receive resumes.
All right, so 6 months is realistic given what's going on.
50,000
Okay.
instead of.
Okay, then.
Okay, we clear on that item, Susan?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the next question.
So we're still on administration, and
Wait, can we stop for a second? Because I asked a question that I would like an answer. Why isn't the floater under the administration? Because they're gonna float in Lizette's office and wherever Lizette assigns her. So why isn't it under admin? Because Omar's not gonna be in charge of this employee.
because
That's
the salary, the floater will be helping out the borough clerk's office, the assessor's office, and finance department. So the clerk's office is the lead. And that's
Is
where,
he going to be the manager? Who's the manager?
I am, and in my absence, Omar.
So then I would have it under admin if you're the manager.
Well, I serve both departments. I have a dual
But
title.
it should be in the admin budget.
All right.
I don't think
I
right now
need a consensus on that. Do you want me to move it to the admin budget? Yes or no?
So poll the council if that's what they want to do, go down the list.
Okay, Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Nope.
Mayor
Okay,
Sim.
all right, next question.
Okay, wait. So I'm going to be moving half of the salary that we said was 31,000 from the clerk's office to the admin office, correct?
Yes,
And move the position to the admin office and put it in for only 6 months.
Right, they'll be prorated.
Right. Okay. Got it.
I suggest we do the same with the DPW chief.
we
Or
did
have we
that.
done that already?
We did that already.
We already prorated that, Lauren.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
That was done.
Okay.
Good.
All right, next question, Susan?
Wait,
Next.
I didn't hear that. Was that, what did did Warren say that was done?
The DPW
No,
director salary.
I said DPW was prorated already.
Yes.
That's what my notes show.
Yes, it was. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. So going back to where we needed to start, we left off on page 17 of the administration budget under environmental commission.
But,
So we,
I have in my notes that they didn't finish page 16. The last page 16 was, they just stopped at, page 15.
Well, that's the
I don't know why.
HPC budget. 15
And
and,
on textual historian, I mean, if it was done, tell me, but I was not watching. Yeah, I had half the HPC done.
what
I
was,
think on page 16, the issue was education and training. You were going to cut that budget from 2,500 down to like 1,000 or 500. I think that was the last, I'm not sure if that was resolved. That might be what
I
you're
don't
referring
think it
to.
was.
So, because they've only spent $150. Thoughts?
Jeff, do you know about this at all?
I would be comfortable right now cutting it to 1,000.
Okay.
I defer to Jeff on that.
We're all good with that?
I'm gonna make changes as we speak.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay, if everyone's good, let's go on to the next question.
So
Environmental
now,
commission.
are you good with the rest of that page?
Yes.
are we done with the HPC?
I think that was you had a yes there.
I defer to Jeff. Jeff, anything?
Nothing else that I know of.
Okay, so next.
Nothing they told me.
So
Okay.
next is environmental commission, page 17. Any questions?
Dan?
There are professional fees. Can we add, stop. Let people talk in their own, Jesus. Other professional fees, can we get 1,000 there for the potential, continuing to hire the rose garden expert?
Why isn't that going DPW?
It's a rose garden expert.
Dan?
Yes, I know. So my question is isn't it in DPW?
Right, that goes into Davis Johnson Trust.
In Davis Johnson Park, and it's going to be overseen by members of the green team anyway.
Right,
Dan, can I ask a question?
yeah, I was just going to comment on what Lauren said, then Jeff, the DPW, Lauren, doesn't manage that, it's all green team. But go ahead, Jeff.
Well, what I was going to say is there's a trust fund for Davis Johnson, which I would have to imagine has in the past covered the cost of the rose garden.
Correct.
I believe that is correct. I believe they're getting close to, Susan, correct me, like 40% used?
I don't have the number in there, but let me see if I can find it while we're talking. You guys can move on if you have to.
Okay, because
Yeah,
that's where I would take the 1,000 from.
About the trust right now, I'll look for it.
The alternative, and if it makes sense, is there's $700 of printing, which they've never used in the time period that we've been tracking it, and there's $250 in education that's never been used in the process of doing it. So there's your 1,000 there. So you can just move it around.
Is Bob still here?
Yes, he is.
Bob, can we get someone to I don't know if we did it last year, but Sustainable Jersey Grant, the checklist that you need to do?
Hold on, Bob's approaching the bench here. Bob, have it, why don't you, if you could, Bob, why don't you have a,
Dan, that was my question
seat
about
somewhere.
that grant.
To work on Sustainable Jersey.
That really falls under the environmental committee or green team, to be honest.
Hey, was that,
Do you want to hire somebody to do it?
Was that-
He's asking.
Dan?
do you
Yeah, I didn't hear
remember,
Bob.
sorry, I didn't know someone was talking.
Bob indicated that comes under the Green Team and the Environmental Committee.
Is someone gonna start doing the checklist at the, like you used to, or should we get someone to do that?
You should get somebody to do that.
Okie dokie.
You can bring
All right,
that up.
Susan, you have the answer to my question about the fund?
No, I'm trying to remember if it's in a trust or in capital. Do you remember if that was in a trust, the Rose Garden?
Yes,
Somebody gave us $100,000.
There is.
yes, and
Yep.
it was deposited in the trust because it was solely for the Rose Garden.
Correct.
So,
There you go. We don't need it as a separate budget item.
No.
Yeah, I don't know how much they spent already, and I would rather keep that fund as filled as possible so that we can buy buildings rather than operations.
I like Alan's idea of taking it from the other line items.
Can someone tell me what park the Rose Garden is in?
Davis Johnson.
Davis Johnson.
Okay. Let me see if I can find it there.
But there's a separate Davis Johnson Trust, right?
The Aileen S.D. Johnson Fund, probably.
I'm looking.
I think you're actually right, the new, but they're for, earmarked for certain things, right?
Right, but I mean,
Just like the library has 3 or 4 trusts.
but I mean, the Rose Garden Trust, that's a separate. but I'm
That's a
saying that-
specific trust,
yeah,
that's
That's
correct.
a specific trust, but I'm saying there's another Davis Johnson.
Yeah.
Into Davis Johnson
I
Trust.
know we have
Oh,
a
okay,
trust.
okay,
Oh, it was rolled in that way?
Just
Okay,
rolled into the
Okay.
Davis Johnson
Okay.
Trust.
Okay.
They didn't make up a separate trust.
okay.
right.
It was all the fees that we collected with the Davis Johnson Trust.
So what are we waiting for, Susan, to come up with the amount in the trust?
Well, maybe we should move on because we're having
We
a hard
should
time
move on.
finding-
Bob said there's enough to be operational for this year, based on what's in the trust.
Oh, wait, I found it.
Okie dokie.
Of course.
Okay.
Just in time, Susan.
What I see in here.
Remember, there's a curfew.
Oh, one, sorry.
What'd you say?
More number.
Remember,
What? Eight, five, oh. Okay, where'd you go?
Sue?
Yeah, 30, we have in there 35,544.30.
oh, we're covered.
We're good.
Okay.
What?
You've got your resources in there, Dan.
All right, so did
Got
you
it.
change on the environmental commission?
Just to be clear, so that's going to be in the trust, come from the trust?
Correct.
Okay. Should we do, since we already spoke about it, should we do anything with this about $1,000 that isn't being utilized? Is there a way we could get them to utilize it?
Susan, that's a question.
The line items, one for, they're small numbers, but they've never used it. I would love, is there printing and binding that they need that we could help them to realize, or let's take it out? And then is there any training and education, which is my favorite? Can we send somebody to a conference, or should we just take it out? I'd like to use it if we're budgeting for it.
Dan?
I don't think we've ever sent anybody to a conference here. I would take both of them out.
Susan, do you have any comments about that?
They're doing the Earth Fair this year.
That first canceled.
So, I don't really know much about
That's where they're.
if they ever would need this. Does anybody know if they would ever need it?
I
I'm gonna
think,
put like $100 in each, but let's not put almost $750. That's silly.
Susan, I think what the council is saying, no one's used it in 3 years, why would they use it this year?
2 different line items,
$250 each.
100 each. This is silly. Why are we giving away money? We're paying for the thing.
So reappropriate that money to do
we reappropriated that money to do this Sustainable New Jersey grant. So,
Why not?
go ahead, Lizette.
The proposal is to reduce the line items of printing and binding and education and reallocate it to the Sustainable Jersey grant.
Oh. Well,
Do that.
Okay, so it's staying in there.
Fine with that also.
We ready for the next question?
okay, you want to do that?
Yes.
I think the environmental team definitely should be working more on Sustainable Jersey. A lot of the other municipalities have won big matching grants, haven't they, or awards on Sustainable Jersey? And I think we're nowhere near there, right?
Nope, we've gotten it before.
When?
We've been sustainable.
Community garden.
for 10 years.
Yeah, we're Sustainable Jersey, but we don't have the higher levels.
Right.
So we're not platinum or whatever it is, gold or whatever.
I think we're still.
We're bronze.
We're bronze, I think.
Can somebody repeat that, please?
We are bronze level.
But it's, the level is due for renewal, so you need somebody to handle the renewal.
So why not reduce printing and binding from 500 to 100 and put that 400 to Sustainable Jersey grant, so it's an even 1,000?
That's fine with me.
Okay,
Does everyone agree?
yes.
Okay.
Next question.
Hey, hold on. We still have 250 in education training, which has never been used in 3 years, 4 years at this point. Let's just make that 100 again.
It's the same thing as reallocating, that was part of the reallocation for
And just
the,
the salaries done. If this virus doesn't calm down, I don't know when it's gonna be.
Just, it should be left because
Club is going to battle Corona?
it should be left there because who knows that probably to get to the next level of Sustainable Jersey, you need to send people to training.
And $9,000 in sustainable, that would cover those costs?
Sustainable Jersey will have, to go to a next level is a lot of work involved. So it is just best to, let's just maintain it as is and have the Environmental Commission give us a status on where we are to the next certification level. And then we'll make that decision next year.
okay, next question.
We good?
Okay. Next
I'd
page.
like to reduce the amount of, well, actually, I'm going to ask Jeff, why is that stigma-free getting $7,000, or did they raise this? Is
No,
this a trust?
this isn't for stigma-free, this is the annual allocation to Vantage Health. The borough has always provided them $7,000.
Oh, okay, that's better. Got it.
That's not stigma-free.
Better. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, next question.
All right, page 19 was the Nature Center, we did that already. Page 20,
And Cosette, did you see my email today from Deborah? She would like to know about the Dunham House, so can you follow up with her, please?
Dunham House Keys.
The Dunham House keys, the Dunham House was changed, is property of the borough, it's maintained by the borough. When the Nature Center elected not to use it for their new director, the locks were changed because there were too many keys floating around. So the,
So the nature,
right now,
so
the
the
Nature Center
has
does not
asked
have,
that a different person use it, and our attorney's supposed to be working on changing the lease. I don't know what's taking so long, but if you guys can all touch base with Deborah and someone, you know, we've all agreed as a mayor and council to give the next tenant the keys.
Until there's a new lease, we can't give out keys.
All right, let's move on.
Okay.
The next question.
Then, Lizette, please talk to Bill.
Email each other budget.
Okay. We did page 20, Welcome Committee already. So we are on Senior Services
Do we
Coordinator.
we don't need to spend money now on a May event that probably won't happen.
I would agree.
Okay.
I'm sure that.
But maybe they'll postpone.
Wait, time out for a second. Which page are you talking about, the May event? What do we,
Welcome Committee, page 20.
Page 20.
They have a May 15th event at the firehouse, and I doubt for new residents.
okay, so I would recommend keeping that in there because they could wind up rescheduling it to August. Let's not start predicting what's going to happen. Let's just assume that will happen, but be rescheduled like most other events are.
Yeah.
Well, the only reason on this particular one, Mark, is because we already have an event in September, and I doubt we're going to do August and September.
I mean,
Jeff, I don't think you should take that out either, actually.
Fine. Okay. I'm done.
Okay.
That's fine.
I doubt the event is going forward though, and so therefore money will be left over, which is good, and hopefully we can roll it over, or figure out another way to use it for next year.
okay,
That one.
next question.
I agree with you.
Next.
All right, we're on senior services coordinator, page 21, that's the salary for our part-time coordinator.
Is she under the admin contract? Is that why it's stable?
No, it's, Susan could explain.
Okay. There are no raises in here right now. They're in another line, payroll adjustment, because the contracts are not executed. And I think Perrine is, the coordinator is in, non-represented, is that right? Was that?
Yes,
I have to look it up.
yes.
Yeah.
So her salary will be negotiated during contracts, which is which contract, I'm sorry?
No, the unrepresented group follows the administrative bargaining unit. So whatever is decided upon for the admin group, the unrepresented follows suit.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, so any other changes to, this center?
Is she interested in working additional hours?
No.
Got it. Okay, that's my question.
No other changes? Good.
All right, next topic.
My next question is 24, but go ahead.
All right, so 22 is the operating, which is mainly her communications materials, her outreach, documentation, her education and training.
24 is, transportation salary and wages.
Yes, this is for our,
And somebody, who's number?
what was the question?
We need to,
Is there a
we need
question?
to hire. Is there vacancies here?
There is one more vacancy we do need to hire. The problem is, with the CDL Class B, the market is very tight.
Could you explain what the vacancy is, Lizette?
We're trying to rotate the drivers. We have one that says vacant, William, has a person's name on it, and that person was unable to reactivate the CDL license and went multiple times, so that position's completely vacant.
But, and how many hours do we run the senior bus?
Is that,
At least 6 to 8 hours a day,
So altogether in a week?
30 to 40 based on need.
Right, so if we have the 20 and the 20, that's 40, and then we have the substitute, which is 5 in case they need to, so I think the 20 and the 20 should be enough. We don't need to fill in the vacancy.
There are changes going on, so we need to have another driver to phase out a current position, so we need to hire someone.
so with that, 2 drivers are allocated for. Do you see it?
Okay, so,
You see that there's 2 and a substitute? There's 2 drivers and 1 sub.
2 drivers and a sub?
Right, so we're fine.
Okay, so are we good then?
That's good.
Okay, next question.
so,
Could,
page
Go ahead.
25 and 26.
Hold on, Benita has a question.
on page 25, the 1,500 for bus routing and mapping, what is this and why is it a yearly? Because the last 2 years there was 1,500 expended.
It is the software, the scheduling software, so that's a maintenance agreement.
Okay, so
that's
it's a
how-
contractual.
Yes.
Go ahead, next question.
Oh, sorry, one more. Transit marketing material, we haven't spent anything in 3 years. Why do we need the 3,500?
Part of it, that's what has been put in since the inception of the program, just to put out information.
Can you bring that down to 500?
Susan,
Yeah.
page 25, last line item.
Take it down?
Is there consensus to take it
Wait.
down?
Hold on, hold
I
on.
say yes.
No,
Question,
don't bring it down now.
question.
Wait, Dan has a question.
Was that, are we going up to the 5310 grant for the car, for the bus?
We did submit an application.
When?
We submitted it in the fall, like around November, but there's a 2-year lag period.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Can we get a response on the 500, bring it down to 500?
So how much are we putting for that line item?
Reduce it by 3,000 is what's being proposed. Any objections?
You know,
Okay, so the question on the floor is the number's now 500. Any objections to that? Okay, there it is, 500, Susan, let's move on.
Wait, I'm sorry, Mark, I can't hear most of what you're saying.
Lizette.
Mark is
Can someone-
confirming that the transit materials is being reduced from 3,500 to 500 on page 25.
Okay. I'm a yes.
okay, does everybody agree to that?
Yes.
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 Yep.
Okay, good, thank you.
Next question, Susan.
Okay, so that completes the administration budget.
Okay, great. All right,
We're going to clerk.
We're going to clerk. Start on page 6 on the line item.
Can we go to 5?
Okay. On the salaries?
Why do we have temporary staffing?
Well,
Is that the summer people?
that was a placeholder for the discussion of the floater, what would be contributed towards that. So the floater was approved, but it's being transferred over to the administration salary page. So you,
So that's
already
half of that?
I already made that zero, Lauren,
yeah, and
Thank you.
and I took that amount and allocated it towards the floater.
yeah. And I currently have a
Now the
staff
floater-
member through the end of this week that she's worked since New Year's.
I also want to talk about the overtime budget.
What's the question?
Why, I'd like to put it back to 2,500.
Presidential election year.
Last year, we spent almost 3,700.
It said you spent 25.
No, if you go on page 6, you see overtime, 25 was budgeted, and what was spent was 36,655. In 2018, what was spent was 6,244.
Do we expect that to happen again this year?
Yes. No, election isn't under election.
Elections under elections, is
But
separate.
2,500 is not enough. If you see from 17, we spent almost 44, in 18, 62, in 19, 37.
I'm fine with the
Are we
6,000.
arranged now differently in the borough?
No, that is with all hands on deck.
And aren't we getting a floater to pick up some of the additional slack so we don't have to pay all the overtime?
No, because what was there was a part-time assistant already. So it's a wash. It's not like I'm receiving an extra person in that department. There was always 3 full-timers and a part-timer.
So
I'm not looking for a wash, I'm looking for savings.
I think the overtime budget, as we can see for the past 3 years, has been completely, it changes constantly. And so it's not going to be possible for us to pick a target number when the entire history of it is constantly arbitrary from year to year.
Right.
And so what's happening this year is we're putting enough money in to make sure we don't have to have transfers from other places into this.
I hear you, Mark, but we're getting an additional employee to help all these departments.
Yes, but in this department, you have the same number of employees and you still needed historically more money in the overtime.
You just told me that the floater's gonna also work for the clerk.
The floater is replacing the part-time person in the clerk's office. So the floater will be working for the clerk and the assessor as it was before, and now will be working in the finance department.
I think what we're gonna do is split it up like 10 hours. 10 hours for the assessor, 10 hours for Lizette, 10 hours for me. However, that floater will only be needed when someone calls in sick and may not be able to go to the other departments when we're shorthanded.
Those hours will vary depending on whose peak season is currently happening.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm saying okay, and everyone else will.
Go ahead, Vanessa has a question.
Also on the personnel, the executive assistant, what are the roles and responsibilities of this executive assistant?
The executive assistant handles all the pet licensing, the raffle licensing, the filming and events, all the various licenses that don't fall under the auspice of the deputy clerk. She's also the office manager. She does health insurance, dental insurance, paying various insurance premiums. She coordinates the accounts payable for utilities, whether it's PSE&G or water, making sure that we are being charged correctly for our legal ads. She does everything. So.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next question.
Okay, we'll go to page 7. Any questions?
Page 8.
What's this? There's no stipend anymore, right?
Almost.
So
No.
that's easy.
There's no stipend in the clerk's office. Page 7, page 8.
On page
Oh,
8,
page 10.
Hold on, Vanu had something on 8.
on codification of ordinances, I know that we've had the fluctuation of 2017, 4,000, 2018, 10,000, 2019, 660.
The 660 is just for the web hosting of our code online. We haven't been charged for any of the 2019 ordinances, and I think we adopted 24 of which that have to be codified. They do not charge until codification is done. So since this is work from 19 and it was encumbered in 19, when the invoice arrives, it will be charged to the 19 reserve. So it will be charged against the 8,500 under 19.
All right, okay, thank you.
Next.
Okay, page 9. Page 10, this is
I have a
elections.
question.
Yes.
Are we contractually required to increase this?
Well, the thing is, with elections, the overtime fluctuates based on the election year, and since it's a presidential election year, the general election day is a borough holiday. With that, the employees that are working contractually receive double overtime, double pay.
So we have this for election overtime, and we give a stipend for someone to do the elections, and then we also
We
have
don't give a stipend for
$10,000.
elections. There's no election stipend.
So we have election overtime and then $10,000 here?
That $10,000 covers the election overtime.
But we have another line for election overtime, right?
No. On page 11, it's just that 10,000, and then the second 10,000 is just the total, the control total.
I understand, but I'd like to put it back to 9. I don't know why we're making this go up.
Because 2017 was not a presidential election year. It's high every 4 years because the presidential election is a borough holiday. Borough Hall is closed, but the staff who work receives holiday pay, which is double overtime.
So we just put how much into overtime in that other line?
That's the clerk's office. That's every other day, except those 2 days, actually 4 days of the year, because we also do late night voter registration, that's overtime. You do 2 late night voter registrations, and then on election day, you're working from 4 in the morning until 8:30, that's overtime, and then 4:30 in the evening until the polls close, and not just the polls closing at 8, it is all the poll workers bringing in all the materials, we have to separate items, some stay here, some go to the county, everything has to be sorted, everything has to be called in and tabulated. That doesn't end until about 10, 11 o'clock.
So we just put in $6,000 for overtime. Will any of that be used on election day?
No,
Can you use that on election day?
no,
Because why?
because this also involves other staff who work. It's not just the clerk's office personnel that works on election. I recruit from other departments based on the influx of people. It also includes the custodians that are working. They will be also paid double overtime. This covers about 10 people twice a year, and that's all their overtime. It has been
Lizette.
used, and again, this is an anomaly of every 4 years because presidential election is a borough holiday.
So, one, I think each department has overtime.
So, Lauren, I mean, the clerk has a constitutional responsibility to conduct
I
the...
can't hear you. I'm
The
sorry.
clerk has a constitutional responsibility to conduct elections, and this is what it costs.
Put the phone in front of Mark.
Go ahead, just repeat that.
Lauren, is a statutory responsibility for elections. Election activity has to be kept separate from regular operations. They cannot be combined. I cannot, if I have somebody from the...
But every time there's an election, I don't need to raise this. Why don't we keep the level flat?
Okay, let's poll the council, just poll the council. Either it's 10,000, yes or no?
Yes, 10,000 is fine.
Any objections?
Well, there is a question I have before we poll the council. I think this will help, Lizette.
Yeah?
Just which staff generally is covered under page 6 and which different staff is covered under page 10? That will clarify this.
There are two staff members covered under page 6. For elections, you have 10.
All right, and those are totally different, separate people.
Out of the 10, 7 of them are not in the clerk's office.
And they're, all 10 of them are separate from the overtime that's on page 6.
Correct.
That's what I want to know. We're not talking about the same people or same functions.
Correct.
That's what gets a little confusing.
It takes a special employee to come in at 4 in the morning and work through 10, 11 o'clock on that day.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to the
That's the way
next.
it is.
Let's go to the next question.
Then go to page 11, the reality of all of the same exact employees doing the same exact work for the past 3 years has not even come close to $10,000.
But Lauren, the pay rate,
Presidential elections.
yes, the pay rate for the general election for 3 of the years is
Lizette.
time and a half.
Lizette,
Yeah.
poll the council, yes or no? 10,000, yes or no?
Councilmember Dayton,
No.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes,
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on.
Next question.
Any questions on printing and binding? Or office supplies?
I think this was just, I like this list that we're creating on, let's do a session on vehicles, let's do a session on some other things. I think just looking at printing and binding, I know some of it is statutory, but as, the green team, everyone, I would love to have a session sometime this summer on the amount of printing and binding that we do.
Well, this printing and binding is totally separate from every other department because
Right.
this is what the county charges for the primary. So and it goes up every other year when there's county committee. Remember, they have to print the ballot in 3 languages. And then you have your your ballots that go to the machines, your mail-in ballots, the postage. So that's why you may see every other year the amount goes higher. It fluctuates, is based on what the county charges. Every other department is based on solely borough activities, but when it comes to elections, 100% of this only goes to paying for charges from the primary issued by the county.
Cool, I hear this line, I could have said it in a prior line. We print a lot of things that I'd love to just look at, to challenge.
Any other questions on elections? Okay, so we move forward to the council budget.
I'd like to add an overtime.
You want to add an overtime?
Overtime,
Overtime or stipend? Or one of each?
I'll take the minimum wage.
Any questions on page 14? That covers all of council.
Okay, next question.
On,
Sorry, one question about the league. Does the league come into this under education and training?
yes,
Okay.
Was that,
yes,
no changes, right?
14. No changes.
No, there's no changes, I'm saying.
No changes.
No changes.
Okay, 14,
14 no changes.
any changes, no.
Okay, next question.
And 15 is animal cruelty, that's based on the contract with animal control services with the county.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, to go to finance.
so we're done with what?
Moving on to finance. First question from anyone? Susan? Does Susan have anything to say, or are we done with finance?
Susan, anything?
What?
We're on your department.
Can somebody please repeat what Mark said? I didn't hear.
He asked if Susan had anything. We're on finance.
I don't, not, well, no,
I have stuff on finance.
yet.
Okay, someone ask a question.
Pick a page and a question.
Okay. I gotta get there. I would like to go to page 7.
Page
Okay.
salary is financial administration salary and wages.
So the stipends that we gave last year, is that what's in those small lines, 3,000, 2,500, et cetera? This reallocation from other professional fees?
What page are you on?
Page 7.
But I don't, where do you see reallocation, oh, reallocation of the, that was last year.
Right, so that should not be counted as the salary. So we should,
In salary now.
No, what
That was
happened,
not
what
a
happened,
stipend.
what happened
I
last
can't hear
year?
Susan.
What
Wait,
happened?
can I have Susan?
Okay.
Can I have Susan answer? I couldn't hear her.
That was not a stipend, Warren. That was not a stipend. That money was in the budget and incorporated into salaries for services that were outsourced. That was last year.
Yeah, but we don't give competency
We're looking at
raises.
2020 now. What?
But that, I understand that, but the new salary is based on the salary plus that line. So are you including that as salary?
I just showed it.
What
Be
happened,
transparent.
what, the determination last year, and it was only granted in this situation, is since general ledger is no longer done by an outside service, and it was
Right.
being done
For
by
last
3
year also.
employees, it was added, since it's an extra job, it was added to their salaries.
But that was never brought up to the general body, governing body, not during the year. At the time, we said we didn't want to have somebody else.
Finance assistant. It's going to be based off 39,290 and not 41,290?
No, because that 2,000 was added to the 39. And then the new
Their base salary.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the 2019 budget or the 2020 budget here?
Salary
Both.
add, and we didn't,
Karen.
well, that was not a base salary add, and we don't give an added base salary for competency increase. You're calling it something, but that, if you're giving a raise, it can't be a raise for competency increase, and weren't contractually required to give the raise for any future years. It was just last year.
It was,
Well, wait a minute. You can't give a raise for competency because there's another person in the borough a couple of years ago that, maybe even two, that we did give a raise for competency
And
because
then
they
they
had to
rolled it
train
into this year's
somebody
salary, so we shouldn't
extensively.
include it in this year's. No,
they're still doing the same work, their job functions change. with extra
So
work.
we increased the salary in
But it no
2019.
longer exists for this year. That doesn't exist for this year, Lizette. You just said that.
No, but they're still
No,
doing
it
that
doesn't
work.
say.
The general ledger wasn't.
Wait a minute.
The general
They
ledger
did that
work by, the general ledger work by these employees was not just for 2019. As of 2019, these three employees assumed
Right.
additional work. Therefore, the scope of their job changed, and that is why the compensation changed. They're still doing this work in 2020, and they'll continue doing this work in-house because the auditor wants us to do it in-house.
Well, not just that. First of all, the one person that you're looking at, I can tell you right now, far exceeds what her responsibilities are. And she's a star performer, and as far as I'm concerned, she's totally undercompensated as it is.
I understand that, but contractually, we gave a 1 year, and I'm putting it in quotes, stipend. It was not a salary raise
It
last
was
year.
not a
It was
stipend.
not a stipend. It was
But we didn't agree to
$75,000.
we didn't agree to a salary raise for these employees across this
I
department.
am saying, I
Yes,
agree
you
with
did.
what Dawn
It'll
is
be in the
saying.
minutes. It was $7,500
We're not cutting
that was
salaries,
outsourced,
We
that was
gave
not a
them-
stipend. It was in
Otherwise, it would have
other
been part of the
professional
salary
fees,
amount.
and it was reallocated.
And
We brought it in.
I have notes
My
that we
budget
put
remains.
Okay, hold on, time out a second here.
A stipend, so it wouldn't go into pension and FICA.
It's not a stipend.
it's not a stipend. This
It
is,
was never a stipend.
See what was voted on.
and,
And
and,
double check.
and in order to effectuate this and to increase their salaries, the governing body adopted a salary ordinance that increased the range to incorporate this new salary.
That's not the discussion I remember from last year.
That is the discussion.
That is not the
we had.
discussion I remember from last year.
So you're,
Well, I remember the discussion distinctly, and you guys could play back the minutes or do whatever you have to do, because it was thoroughly explained, thoroughly, and I showed it in the budget so that it would be very transparent, and it was in my narrative.
Okay, I'd like to, can we,
Vinny and I have the same recollection.
can we hold off on this so that we can look into the record?
To see how it matches from 2019 in the different
That's
categories
where
that we
it came
include.
out of. It came out of other professional fees, out right near the audit section. It was not
It
an
wasn't
add-on.
a salary increase. It wasn't a salary increase.
So listen, I don't have an objection to giving them more money, that's not the point.
Budget. I already had explained this last year.
I wrote notes on it while you were explaining. I think Susan said.
Okay, you know what? I wrote a lot of notes, and I also, if this came up twice last year, everybody agreed to it, then it came up again, we had another discussion, and then everybody agreed.
No, I agreed to it because it was already done.
Wasn't already done.
So,
It-
okay, let me,
It had been proposed, the consensus of the majority granted this and made it a point to say that everybody, and we didn't get a chance to do it last year, now when we have an HR person will do it, to go over everybody's job titles to make sure they're working within their title. And in order for Susan to pay these three individuals this money, the governing body adopted a salary ordinance. because she can't just
To
arbitrarily
give us
pay anything.
stipends.
It wasn't a stipend. Stipends are not in the salary
It
ordinance.
was 1 year, it was a one.
Okay, time out. Lizette, tell them time out for a second.
Time out. Hold
Okay.
on one moment. Everybody stop talking.
Hold on a second. So the issue is, last year, a decision was made to, whatever term we called it, we gave these employees more money for increased amount of responsibility. In 2019. In 2020, they're still performing that increased responsibility.
Yes.
So do we want to continue paying them the same amount, or do we want to cut the amount of money we pay them?
I find the use of the term cutting, is just a way to make it seem like we're doing something wrong. When we're actually just trying to be responsible with the taxpayers' money. And what we want to do is actually, in my opinion, we want to go back to last year's discussion to find out what this was actually determined at the time.
So let me rephrase that then. So Lizette is indicating there was a salary ordinance created. So my recommendation is, if on this particular decision, Lizette provides that salary ordinance tomorrow morning to the council. If the council had indeed in 2019 voted to increase these employees' compensation by the ordinance, then it stays at the level that it was increased to. If there wasn't a salary ordinance, then it goes back to the 2019 compensation.
Yes, there was a salary ordinance, and it took both of the positions
Right.
out of the administrative group bargaining unit and put it under the unrepresented employees bargaining unit because of the work that they were doing. It was considered managerial, confidential, and therefore not subject to being part of a bargaining unit or union. So the salary ordinance was the unrepresented employees adding these two titles and their respective salaries. That was the action that was taken.
And you know what, I would like to add something on page 8. If you look at other professional fees, this should have been done in 18 and not in 19. I held off on doing it. We were doing the work already for 2 years. If you go to 18, page 8, the last line, other professional fees, you'll see that the 7,500 was in 2017. And some of the outside parties, when I was getting estimates to do this work, wanted up to $30,000.
So,
Susan, hold on, Susan?
Yeah.
Question. So while we're on page 8, if we go up a few lines from that, there's a line saying stipend, right?
Yes.
And we spent $10,500 last year under the category of stipend.
Yes.
Now, when I go to page 7, if I'm adding up the reallocation plus reallocation plus reallocation plus stipend CPA, that's 10,500, but it's also rolled into salary. It's in 2 places.
Now, the 7,500 from last year was the 7,500 that I got for acting BA.
Okay, so the 10 and 5 total is from the acting BA plus the 1 stipend?
Yeah, they probably should have charged it to Lizette's line, but she didn't. I guess they put it there by mistake, but it, it could be reallocated. That's answer to an admin's line.
Okay, that's what I didn't understand, is the 7,500 under the stipend, but that's what that is.
Yeah.
listen, no one disagrees that this money was given last year, and it was given for these great employees. No one's questioning that. Everyone agrees
Why are we
with the money.
questioning it? Because I have to tell you, it's really bothering me that you're going back on something that was decided a year ago. And if you saw the estimates that I got for this work.
Okay, we're going to poll, we're going to poll.
It's not about the work. It's what we are contractually required. This isn't a polling thing. Go back to the contract and tell me what I am legally required to pay these employees. This isn't like an opinion.
Everyone, we can't.
Not an opinion.
Susan, tell Susan.
Wait, they're doing the work, right? They're doing the work?
They're doing the work and they're still doing the work. But right now, the mayor as the chair requested to poll the council, and that is what I am about to do.
I don't have enough information here.
The question
You're
is,
telling me that this was salary last year.
That was done a year ago. I don't even know why we're talking about it with
Okay,
the 2020.
there is no discussion, here. There is a request by the chair to poll the council.
You may not cut off council discussion. I'm sorry, this is our time to get information so we can vote. Don't.
It's not voting on the 2020 budget, Warren, not on the 19 one.
But any raises off the 2020 budget will be based on a salary that includes this amount. So is this amount of salary or is this amount of stipend? Because it was my understanding it was a one-time year stipend.
It was never that understanding,
All
never.
right, let me clarify something. Stipends are not part of the salary ordinance. All these stipends are an operational. So the fact that you adopted a salary ordinance proves that it is in the employee's salary.
But it was in other professional fees.
Okay,
It was
I'm going to poll
never-
the council. The exact question is,
the exact question is that the borough administrator will, if the borough administrator produces the salary ordinance that the council voted on and approved in 2019, then these numbers in the 2000 budget will stand. If there is no salary ordinance, they will not stand, and it'll revert back to 2019.
And there's no need to poll the council, just get the facts.
okay, if you want to wait 2 minutes, I'll email everybody the salary ordinance. I have my computer up.
Okay, take a 2-minute break while Lizette gets the documents.
This was a fight last year because the council had intended for this not to be salary. That's why this got fought over twice.
Well, what do you want it to be, Warren?
It was a stipend, a one-time stipend.
It was never a stipend, Warren. I made it very clear.
Susan, can you hear me?
Find my narrative.
I know that
Susan,
was your intent, but I don't think the table thought that.
Susan, can you hear me?
Susan,
I'm gonna try to find my narrative from last year.
Susan,
Yes?
the mayor would like to speak to you.
Lizette is getting the documentation, so let's hold off on this discussion, because if she has it, it ends the conversation.
Mark, you were part of this conversation.
Absolutely, but I have to see the ordinance. We voted on a lot of things last year.
I believe it was said that they were putting it in the salary ordinance because that was the only way to get it done.
Well, on a 2-minute break, Bob, what's new in Tenafly this evening?
And by the way, Adam, since you pay attention to this, this is a difference of a $20,000 in salary between last year and this year requested, and we haven't even negotiated some of this stuff yet.
What's the difference of the 20,000 salary? I've been reallocating my funds, and I'm about to save with the borough $15,000 and get another part-time position by allocating it to the library, which they already agreed to.
Still on our break here.
I mean, this department used to be half of this amount.
My department needs everybody that's in there. We are always, always busy.
Okay, Lizette's back.
Yes. I emailed salary ordinance number 19-12 As you see, it has a salary range for deputy treasurer and executive assistant to the finance director. And I also submitted the public notice in which it has a clear and concise statement of this ordinance is to establish new job titles that had been approved during the 2019 municipal budget hearings as set forth in the ordinance. The ordinance was introduced April 16th, adopted May 7th.
Okay, see, it was it.
It doesn't tell me whether this is a stipend or not.
It
It
is,
was never a stipend, Lauren. I'm trying, now I can't even get in my computer.
stipends are in the operating budget solely, not in the salary and wage items. Salary, the stipends.
Show me where the ordinance shows these employees, 3 employees with a reallocation. Show me in this ordinance where it talks about that.
The employees is.
You know, would they have the minutes? I know that the tape didn't go through, but would they have the minutes?
I would have to look, that was my former deputy, she did send me the minutes of the first,
Where
budget
is
meeting.
this? Where does it say it? Where does it say it in 19-12?
For the record, everyone voted yes to this ordinance.
What did you say there, Dan?
It was a general, changing of.
Regardless, it passed. It's a yes.
Yeah. So let's,
Hold on.
okay, one last question from Vanir, then we're going to poll the council.
Finance assistant, here, her job is actually executive assistant to the finance director.
Right.
And then we moved deputy treasurer out because deputy borough clerk is unrepresented.
No, but that doesn't address the actual amount that's increasing.
Because all salaries have a range. All the salaries there, every ordinance doesn't have it.
Right, so,
Okay, so what I think we should do here is poll the council. When I look at this particular overall budget, the salaries have gone down year over year from, what is this? Hold on.
Can I just say, I don't think Adam and I should be part of any polling, because we were not involved in any
So
discussion.
Julie,
Question mark happened, so, like, I literally have nothing to add.
Okay, so when I do
I don't even know what you're polling.
let me ask.
Your business.
Okay. So, Julie,
2020, I know what happened, and I remember Max asking a lot of questions about it. I don't know if the people that were there actually remember that, but I did.
Susan, Mark is going to address the governing body now, to poll the governing body with council members Michael and O'Connor abstaining since they were not part of the discussion.
okay, so, well, whether they're a part of the discussion or not doesn't matter. They're full-fledged council members with the full rights and responsibility for voicing their opinion and voting. We don't get to decide, we don't feel like participating because we don't know what happened a year ago. This is, we're talking, it's March of 2020, and people have to participate. Now, the overall issue here is, do we want to pay these individuals based on what the numbers are in the 2020 budget, yes or no?
so, before that, I think I'd like to address the ordinance. The ordinance itself doesn't discuss anything about this reallocation. So there's no way of knowing whether the reallocation is part of this salary ordinance or not. So it has a range, a salary range from of 50 to 70 for the deputy treasurer, but it doesn't say that because of this $2,500 action, or where within that it fits. So it doesn't really discuss the reallocation that's called for on the salary sheet. So what I would like to do is I would like to go back to the tape from the budget meeting, which is available online. And I would like to watch the tape and be able to decide. So I'd like to have an email sent out today or tomorrow, calling everybody once we've had a chance to investigate it.
The budget meetings were never videotaped in prior years, and then after that first initial meeting, which was administration, finance, I think municipal court, et cetera, that actual budget meeting, following all other budget meetings, was not videotaped, was not filmed. They started being filmed after that meeting. So there is no videotape. There is audio to extract. That's all I have, is the audio of everybody speaking.
I believe if
But going back to your question, if you see there is an error on page 7 where the one employee with the hire date of April 18, 2016, it has finance assistant. Her title as part of that ordinance was changed to executive assistant to director of finance. And with that title change came the salary change, because based on all that actual work she was doing, she was working outside of the scope of the duties of a finance assistant. She was at a much higher level and was therefore compensated accordingly.
that's not my memory of the meeting, and I'd like to, I'd like to say, I'd like to have an email sent out where we can pull the council.
A vote cannot be done by email. It has to be done at an.
Has to be done here, so.
Under the Open Public Meetings Act.
So I'm going to recommend that we poll the council, and the question is, does the council want to pay the salaries as indicated in the 2020 budget, yes or no?
Councilmember Dayton.
I don't find the question accurate. I find it misleading. I would like to pay the salary in accordance with a contract.
The question is, do you want to pay the salary for the based on what's indicated in the 2020 budget, yes or no?
The question is inaccurate, so I'd like you to rephrase it.
That's the,
Under contract. That is the question.
That's the question.
Employees are unrepresented. They're not under a contract. There's no contract to review. It's not like the PBA, it's not like the DPW. This was a decision done, and the ordinance 1912 was adopted, and like I said, the public notice is, that salary ordinance is based on what was approved in the 2019 budget. So based on Mayor Zinna's question, yes or no on paying the salaries as indicated in the 2020 budget? Councilmember Dayton.
I would like to pay the salaries that are appropriate raises from the 2019 budget into 2020.
Okay.
That's my response.
go to the next council person.
Councilmember Grossman.
Pass for the moment, I'm checking something.
Councilmember Menon.
I'm checking something as well.
Councilmember Michaels.
I approve this, seeing that the professional fees are at 0.
Was that a yes or no?
So the same thing that I said.
Continue the vote.
Councilmember O'Connor.
I guess I'm gonna go with the way Lauren laid it out.
So is that a yes or no?
Wait, can I just say something to the mayor?
Yes.
With all due respect, I don't think we should be pressuring council people not to abstain or to vote.
So what would the council like to do? Do you want,
Everyone has the right to abstain as well, especially if they're not informed on the question.
so do you want to do this, yes or no? I'm not raising this issue, you are. So do you want to pay it or no?
I'm asking for the facts.
I provided the facts.
These are not facts.
It doesn't tell me whether these additional pays were for a one-year time period or for an ongoing salary increase.
It's for ongoing because the work is continuing. The work is being done in
So
2020.
I have a question with that.
Yes.
How can the governing body go back on something they decided a year ago? And I am the one whose department it affected. And now what are you gonna do? Take back the salary?
So,
that you
Lizette,
already
if the council
decided
can't come to a
and
conclusion on
adopted
this, do we just
and
move on?
gave During the last
If you
budget
can't come to
hearing?
a conclusion, then what you have to put in the budget is to contract this work outside.
Yeah, so there you have it. If
It was explained to us at the table that this was kind of like a bonus, and since we can't give bonuses, we were giving a 1 year. I know it's not.
Extra work duty. They got their titles changed.
Yes.
It was never a bonus. I don't even know where it's.
Essentially got promoted. Essentially got promoted from finance
No,
assistant
what
to
happened was,
executive assistant.
first of all, that number used to be $9,000.
Okay, tell everybody time out there,
Okay,
please.
everybody time out. If you do not give this salary increase, then you will have to put this money into other professional fees because this work has to be done. The general ledger has to be done. And instead of all, whatever this amounts to, 7,500, like Susan says, the going rate to do general ledger work is $30,000. So what you have to decide on is in-house at 75 or outside at 30.
And make it a stipend for 75.
It's,
I want it out of.
You know what?
the
I'm getting a little annoyed here. I can't even believe.
You need
Lauren,
to tell
that you would
Suzanne,
even go
this is a
here.
council conversation amongst the
really
6
can't.
council people.
Susan, this is,
I didn't go here until I went back to my notes and checked. I went back to my notes
I
and
have my
checked.
notes. When I go into the office tomorrow,
Okay, yeah.
okay,
I'm gonna find what I
Is that-
wrote.
yeah.
Can you keep Susan out of this conversation?
Susan, at this point this is a conversation for the members of the
I'm telling
legislative
her
body.
to stop participating in the conversation. Okay, so I need to get some direction from the council members on what you want to do here, besides just going back and forth of whether things are accurate or not.
Can we get 10 minutes, a 10-minute break? Because I have the part of the.
You want to take a 10-minute break? Yes, take a 10-minute break to resolve this.
Okay.
We're on a 10-minute break.
17.
You're gonna take a 10-minute break?
Yes.
Lizette?
Susan, if you need to ask me something, call me on,
No, I'm late. I'm not.
or email me, because this is a conference, and we're off the record.
I can't even get in my computer now. You guys have the book from last year?
I have the book from last year in front of me. That's what I'm reviewing.
I write in there about reallocating the funds?
Reallocation from other professional fees for general ledger duties.
I put it in there. I know what I did.
Yep. I'm seeing it. I see that there was a discussion. Max asked a question
Yep.
about could it be a stipend, but the decision doesn't seem to have been made to make it a stipend. I don't see anything saying that that passed. But he did raise the question. I think that's given.
The whole thing. And I wrote it in the summary, and I'm very transparent.
I know. I'm just saying that,
Right, I have to tell you that I'm really annoyed right now.
yeah, well, we're learning that things going on. Life's too short to be annoyed.
No, it's not, because we're wasting time, and we're going back to a previous year. And I can't even imagine going to my people who have been working so hard, including myself, and starting in with this. Really?
All right, well, I see exactly, I have last year's sheets in front of me. And as there was a discussion, but I don't see it being made a stipend. I don't see any notes that I made, except that it was discussed, period. Discussions are not resolution.
I didn't put to put it in inside, but I put reallocation.
Yep, it's there.
All right, can you please tell them so we can get started again?
Oh, well, we've been talking. I assume they're listening.
Oh,
I don't know.
Jeff, can you hear me?
first they called Max, he would tell me, yeah, but I
We'll be
didn't
back
know
in a
how to
minute.
tell
After extract the audio from the other machine, it's not on video.
I have,
It was March 2nd.
it's March 9th, March 12th.
No, March 2nd.
March 12th
Oh,
was the
so
discussion.
take a look at it together. Take a look at it together.
Something left over, or?
That's just an automated response.
How you doing back there? Good. Does my tie look good on video, or?
Yeah, looks great.
Yeah, blue shirt, looks good. We appreciate your help tonight.
No problem.
Lizette, are you ready?
I'm starting to think these are more entertaining than the Board of Ed.
Oh, these are definitely more entertaining than Board of Ed. I'd be happy to share with you some jurisdictions that are even more entertaining, but I'm on camera and I don't want to mention any names. What? Yeah, we're on live. Is Lizette, Borough Administrator, almost on there? They're almost done though, sounds like? Okay, good.
While we're on this break, is Bob still there?
Bob is right here, yes.
Maybe.
Go ahead, Bob, say yes.
Bob, I'm getting questions. Are we still picking up recycling tomorrow?
Yes, sir. All
All
curbside
right.
services will remain status quo.
So I'm just going to repeat that, Jeff, because the general public is watching. The question is about curbside recycling services, and they continue on schedule as usual. So if tomorrow is your recycling day, usually, put your recycling out. That schedule is continuing as normal.
We may want to make that clear on the website.
That's a good suggestion, Jeff.
And it's another question to, I don't know if it's the building department, but like for permits,
Okay.
are those, who does the permits?
So the question from one of the councilmen for the general public is who's doing the building permits at the building department? So we have two individuals who work in our building department that process the permits. Because of what we've done for their health and safety, we've separated them by time and distance, so we have each person working at Borough Hall for 1 week, and then they work from home for 1 week, so we're essentially on half staff because we really need to have a person here to function. But building permits are getting processed, inspections are getting completed. The process is moving slower though. And the public is responding to that. Today was the first day of that, and the public responded very well in terms of the slower time. But if you have something you need done out of the building department, contact the building department, and they will take care of you and make the schedules work. Go ahead, Councilman Menon.
So,
Are we all back on?
Yes, it's been
Okay, we're off break. We're back on again now. Go ahead, Councilman Menon.
So, we weren't able to listen to the video from March 12th, clearly, it wasn't, we weren't able to conclude the entire discussion. But if you want to have a look at it, it's March 12th at about 1 hour and 10 minutes onwards for about, it was a long discussion. So, you can have a look. I don't know what we can do about it right now, but that was the discussion.
So this comes back, go ahead, Lizette, please.
There was discussion about stipends, and then when Mayor Zinna was Councilman Zinna, the determination is there are no more stipends in the borough to make it part of the compensation. So when it's part of the compensation, it's part of the salary.
So I said that when I was a councilman?
Make it part of the compensation.
So, but we don't, we don't know what the back and forth on that was, but.
So did the council though vote yes or no on what my recommendation?
Well, to make it part of the compensation, we had to, the only way to make it go into effect is to adopt the salary ordinance with that range. Because salary compensation is only by ordinance. Stipends are not in the ordinance because that work would be reassigned to other people in other departments.
So we're coming back to the same question about do we do this, yes or no?
Right, so I would just.
Okay, so
Everyone
now,
voted yes on this last year.
okay, so let's poll the council, yes or no?
Councilmember Dayton.
Abstain.
Councilmember Grossman.
Yeah, I checked last year's notes, so I am voting yes based on what I wrote last year.
Councilmember Menon.
Abstain for the moment.
Councilmember Michaels.
Sounds like the information's right, so yes.
Councilmember O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, so the 2020 salary stay
Next question, please.
page, if we're done with salaries, operation starts on page 8. Page 8, page 9. Page 10.
see.
Question,
I have a question about financial advisor, the $10,000 on page 10, $10,000. We haven't spent anything for 2 years. Do we need that in the budget for auditing purposes, or?
I believe Susan could explain more, but I believe this is when we go out for a bond sale. You need to have legally, your bond counsel cannot be informed in the bond sale. Bond counsel cannot provide legal advice, so that's when you use the financial advisor. And since we didn't have the
And I
sale in
believe that we
18,
will be-
19, that's why it hasn't been expended, but Susan could clarify that.
Right, I believe that we wanted to keep this in the event that we use a financial advisor. And I have a feeling, a strong feeling, that we're going to be needing a financial advisor this year.
Agreed.
next question, please.
Is this the NW Financial, is it Advisors, this is the one?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm supportive.
Next page is
The
11.
last time we used them was in 17, and it was $9,000 to pay.
Next question, please.
Next page is page 11, tax collection. Page 12 is OE.
Oh, hold on. Page 12, right?
Any questions? Vanu? No? Hold on, Councilman Menon has a question.
No, yeah, we're.
No? Next question?
13,
So on 13, I do have a question about computer services. We had it budgeted at 12,000 in 2017 and used 620. 8,500, we lowered it to 8,500. It went up to 6,572. It went up to 8,853 in 19. Why the increase, and what is that?
he's
I can't hear
asking,
that either.
Vanu is asking about page 13, computer services, that 12,000 was appropriated in 17, but only 620 was used. And then in 18, it went to 8,500, and then in 19, 8,900. So he wants to know what is the
What's
computer
changed?
service? What's changed?
Is this separate from a contract with the board?
That's Edmund, and I believe we might have added like some module or something on, or did something else where it went up, but that's the state. But there's something I want to add about this, which I couldn't get in yet. I plan to reallocate about 1,300 of that to the library, and I'm going to be sharing some of these things with you tomorrow. So that may go down. I want to go over it with Julie first, and I haven't been able to talk to her. But that amount, I may be able to adjust and allocate about 1,300 to the library, based on the amount of accounts payable invoices that we're doing for them.
So computer services is for our finance and budgeting accounts payable software.
Okay,
Edmonds.
thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? We can move to page 14.
Questions from anyone?
Okay, so that completes finance.
Okay, finalization of the capital budget.
Actually, I think, I know we didn't include this, but could we have a look at the utilities and bulk purchases?
Where is that?
That's,
That's the tab towards the back.
towards the back.
I couldn't hear Councilman Mennon's question at all.
Councilman Menon is inquiring if we could just look at the tab that says utilities, bulk purchases. It's towards the end of the budget book.
What is the road repairs and resurfacing here? Is that different than our maintenance budget?
This is the PSC&G.
So this is the electrical cost for DPW, for that part of DPW, yeah.
Yeah, they call it road repair.
I figured that out.
It's to provide the utilities to the garages at the DPW administrative building.
Thank you.
So the fire hydrant, is that a contract, the 250, or 248,000 or whatever?
That is what Suez charges us.
And what does that include? Is that just water supplies to the fire hydrants, or do they,
Fire hydrant, the maintenance of the fire hydrant, and any water, any product used.
and do we get a quantification? I mean, how does it work?
All unmetered.
Okay, so we actually use $248,000 worth of water?
It's unmetered.
Oh, unmetered,
Unmetered, so
unmetered. So how do we determine what the,
It's what Suez charges us as a utility.
Okay, I think what Councilman Mellon is it, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it some sort of flat fee based on how many hydrants there are?
Based on, there's a flat fee per hydrant, and that total is quantified by the number of hydrants.
and every year they increase the amount per hydrant?
They don't provide, it's not like the BCUA bill that says anticipate in your budget 1.3% increase or 10%. You know, this is just based on actual expenditures.
Right, and the hydrants are not metered.
Right.
So if we use more or less one year, it's still based on the flat fee of per hydrant.
Okay. No, I'm just saying that every year, there's that increase, so 244, 234, I mean, I don't know where they're getting these numbers from.
It's based on the invoicing from Suez.
They also, as your community grows,
Are we? I mean, have we actually physically put in more hydrants? Okay.
yeah, like, oh, the
With that,
off Knickerbocker Road, I think there's two
anything
hydrants.
change?
You wouldn't have two
No.
hydrants. If you put in a condo complex, you get another.
Got it, okay. And then page 7, it's the actual amount on the sewer.
Can someone please ask Vanu to call into the teleconference? Nobody,
I can't call because otherwise I'll be interfering with the.
Okay, so
Why is he not calling in?
just repeat Vanu's question to the group.
Okay, BCUA, the actual number Susan at the first meeting reported that she received, it has to increase based on what they reported to her.
So every year it's been increasing $100,000 a year.
Yes.
And so if you go backwards, then at some point it was 0 we were being charged.
You have to go back very far.
No, 15 years, I mean, so,
Again, the rate set by the
This
BCUA.
year went up 6.4%.
That's an,
That is actually
that's,
metered
okay,
flow,
got it.
and every time you
Okay.
take.
Flush or whatever.
No, every time you flush the toilet,
Yep.
and you're increasing the amount of houses,
Okay.
you're taking little Cape Cods with one bathroom, and you have bigger houses with 3 or 4 bathrooms.
Okay, any other questions there?
I have a question under unclassified.
Go ahead.
On parking lot leases.
What page?
Page 1, parking
Yes,
lot
but,
leases.
I have a question for Mark. Mark, is it staying exactly the same at 22,000?
Yes, the CSX has agreed that any price increase will not happen until January of 2021, and I have that in an email communication from them, and now we're in the midst of negotiating the lease rates, but for 2020, they will remain the same as the bills reflect.
Okay, so we could take that down to 22,000 from 23.
That's,
No, because this also includes the Wells Fargo lease, and there have been changes with personnel there, and they haven't billed us, and we haven't finished paying the 2019 bill, so that 15,000 is not an actualized number.
So do we have to go up now?
I do not know, it's like a revolving door over there, so I think it's prudent to just leave it as is.
All right, so,
next question.
was Valerie working on this?
Valerie's working on it with the borough attorney.
What? I couldn't hear you, Lizette.
Valerie was working on it with the borough attorney, and they're trying to get an answer from Wells Fargo.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to.
Okay, next question. Are we on the capital budget now? Okay. Let's go to the Vanu?
Do we have to do anything with recreation and
Can I
youth?
stop? I
Or
cannot
are
hear
we-
Mark, and I definitely cannot hear Vinu.
Are-
Can you please both call into the teleconference so at least you're projected?
Okay, what was your question, Vanu?
Very
Then we'll-
difficult to listen to the conversation. It's really, it's
What's
just very hard.
Okay, what's the question?
So the question we need to do is do anything in public to be able to enable the combination of the two departments into recreation services.
Purposes, do we need to do that, Lizette? Because the money is in there.
Do we have to let Susan know that she can go ahead and, or just ask her what she needs?
Susan, do you need anything from the governing body based on the discussion on reorganization that you were working
For
on?
for the teen and youth,
Correct.
I have something I will send to them tomorrow. It's done, basically.
Okay, so as far as she's
There
concerned,
was savings of about $2,800, right, for this year.
So what Councilman Menon is inquiring is if you need any official direction due to this change,
to be able to combine the two.
in order to be able to enact it from a budgetary standpoint, other than an ordinance down the road.
Well, probably the code administratively has to be updated,
Yeah,
that we
that's,
talked about.
mm-hmm,
And then, right now, the departments will be merged into one into the budget. And I'll have to find out from the auditors if there's anything else we need to do.
okay, so if there's any further action that needs to be taken, that will be discussed at the March 24th meeting when the auditor is here.
Yes.
Okay, and so as far as we're concerned, the governing body has done what it needed to do.
Correct, at this point, then there are other steps, but
Okay,
for this.
Good question, though.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're on the capital budget. Questions?
What did you say?
Go
We're
ahead,
on
Lizette.
capital. To
Any
finalize
questions?
capital.
Yes, I
Are
have
there
lots of
any
questions.
Susan, are there any outstanding questions you need to finalize the capital and determine whatever the down payment will be in the operating?
Okay, so in capital, let me pull it up here. Basically, we have to, I sent an email, not on the laptop that I was on. So it timed out and I can't get back in. So, if somebody has the email that I sent, it was about.
You want me to run down my list? I'll run down my list.
Well, no. First, let's go over the email that I sent about the three things: the road resurfacing, the truck for the tree list, and I think I was talking about the library and the grant, which I'm working on with bond council.
Why don't we have Bob talk about the trucks now he's here?
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, Lizette, why don't we ask Bob questions about the trucks and
What do you want to know?
The governing body put on hold for budgetary discussions, the requested $272,854 for the tree truck. Mayor Zeno was to speak with the mayor of Bergenfield about a potential shared service.
so do you want me to answer that question? So I spoke with the mayor of Bergenfield. Once he had a conversation with his DPW director, they decided that they need their truck there full-time with very rare exceptions, so they're not ready to enter into a sharing agreement with us at this point.
Okay.
Our position
So
holds
now we have
holds
to
the
decide
same.
if we're gonna
We need
leave
ours
it
on a daily
in,
basis also.
we need it, right? So
Yes, it's
can
needed.
you confirm that we need, that the governing body's on board with leaving this in the capital plan?
Do we do this work year-round, or is
Yes.
this,
Yes.
I had a question.
Go ahead, Lauren.
I have a question for Bob. Do we do this work year-round, or is this seasonal?
It's year-round.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Susan, I found your email. So the first question was about the truck. So, do you want me to poll the council about keeping it in the Capitol?
Poll the council, please.
Sorry, if I could just ask one clarifying question beforehand, because it might make this point moot. Right now, if I'm reading this correctly from the CapEx, we're saying we're spending $5.7 million. Is that correct, Susan? You're proposing $5.7 million.
Yeah, so if that's what it added up to, I think I sent you a new revised one. Do you have the latest one?
So if we're roughly there, and then just the second question is, if we stick to this number, does this, with the debt requirements, does this still balance our budget, hit our budget targets that we're going after? My point is, if we just say yes to this, it's just not even possible. So can we afford debt for this at this level?
We have a down payment in the capital, in the operating budget of $300,000, but I'm probably gonna make it $325,000.
So we can afford it.
So we can, yeah, we could.
Okay. And again, it's going to be contingent on all my decisions for all the future. There are two specific things that we've been speaking about that was always on the yellow sticky. I want to make sure specifically the downtown concept proposal and the swim club proposal, whether that be in capital or operating. I want to make sure those are both in before I say yes to anything on this capital budget.
Okay, so for the swim club, the letter of intent,
Let's just
that was
confirm,
not,
let's confirm one thing at a time, because you had 3 questions, and then we could go back and answer that. But
okay.
we keep
Go ahead.
moving without making a
Right, answer the
decision.
first question.
Right.
First question, I'm going to do a roll call about keeping the aerial lift truck in the Capitol, okay?
So I don't want to vote because you said to me we cannot do a vote. So Adam's question is valid. I want to know what else is coming in or out before I buy a large piece of equipment. That's a valid discussion. So I would like to discuss the other items, and then we can make choices and choose between them. But we still, we delayed a lot of discussions on this stuff, and now you're telling me we can't discuss it or can't vote on it, and that's not okay.
You cannot vote by email, is what I'm saying. It has to be in a public meeting, and the
one
only,
wants to
and
vote
the
by
only,
email. I'm
the
not
only
saying-
reason why this was held was for Mayor Zinna to find out from the mayor of Bergenfield if this could be a shared service. That was the only reason why this item was held.
Not true. It was held because it's $272,000 of our taxpayer money.
So,
It's
let
a
me
large
interject
ticket
something
item,
here.
and it
So-
should be compared against the other large ticket items. That's
So-
not the only reason it was held.
So, Lizette, we want to remind the council, in terms of projects regarding the pool, studies, actual work, because it's recreational, if the council chooses to, and I'm not saying they should, if they choose to, we have open space money available for that. In addition, they can decide to add it to this capital budget, whether or not they put the truck into it. So they're they're 3 very different things, and all those options. I'm just making everyone aware of it. Go ahead. Councilman Lennon has something to say.
Okay, so I guess we're holding off on the voting for the shade tree for the moment. I have a question about the road program. There were a couple of items that Susan had sent out in an email the other day. The road program, I think, I would like to bring, change the amount from 1.5 million to 500,000. And the question, since Bob is here, the question about the proposal from Mazer about doing the maintenance kind of side of the road program, which was putting in $250,000 a year to improve some of the green roads to prevent it from, so that's the microsurfacing. Okay, so can we bring the road program down to 500,000 and increase the microsurfacing to 250,000?
So is the microsurfacing in the budget separate from the actual road program, just for clarification?
Yes.
It's a category under road roads, it would be, it's a separate line item out of that account. There wasn't any recommendation for it this year because initially the discussion was to do a full mill and pave program. But, I guess what the proposal is to reduce the mill and pave by 1 million, and of that 1 million, putting 250,000 for microsurfacing. That's the proposal from Councilman Bennett.
Okay, so is it safe to say then we're talking about taking, for purposes of just the money, from 1.5 million to $750,000? Is that,
You're right, exactly, altogether.
so,
Jeff, I have a question from our DPW meeting, and Bob, maybe you can help me. I thought this, and I don't have it in front of me, so I thought the second proposal included the microsurfacing in that second 1.5.
No.
No, okay, no.
so
Unless Bob recalls differently, but I don't believe it was, no.
okay, Lizette,
no,
ask for
I'm
questions
sorry.
around Councilman Menon's proposal.
So, as per Mayor Zena, I'm polling the
Wait,
governing.
no, ask them to, if anyone has any comments on it before we
Does
poll
anyone
it.
have any
Are we settled
comments?
on these numbers?
No, I
We're settling on just $500,000 on roads, and another $500,000 on microsurfacing?
No, quarter mil.
quarter mil on Microsoft.
Just one clarification.
Okay,
And we
clarification,
did
when Bob,
1.5 on just roads.
Lizette, let Bob.
Right, so we'll have 2.25 million this year between what we've already pre-authorized in this for the roads program.
Correct.
2.25.
That's my clarification.
Bob, I have a question for you.
Exactly.
Under the temporary.
Exactly. So altogether, we'll have 2.25 going into the road program, through the microsurfacing and the mill and pave. So it's still a robust program, and we shouldn't, people watching or listening should realize that we're not trying to undercut, but given the realities of our capital and operating budget, this seems like an appropriate amount.
Well, typically, we spend about $1 million a year in our road program.
And this is 2.25.
So we typically spend, so the public is aware, that we spend typically $1 million a year on road repair and new milling and paving of the roads. And this year, the council is proposing to spend $2.25 million, more than double what we typically spend in order to address the roads in our town and the daily driving that goes on. Go ahead, Councilman Menon.
Correct, and that doesn't include the proposed grant for Hudson, if I'm correct.
That's actually correct, and that is how much money, Bob? Is that 600,000?
The whole road is close to $1 million.
So we're really talking about
Question for
tripling
Bob?
in effect. Okay. So Lizette, ask the council if they have any more discussion.
Question for Bob.
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
Bob, how many roads will 250 in microsurfacing cover?
I can't, it's about 250 square yard, so it goes by the square yard. So depending on which.
How much
road-
did Jefferson, do you remember how much Jefferson cost or Sunset?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Just to address that question, this was the amount that Mazer had come in and recommended, the 250,000 as part of, to supplement our roads program.
Correct, that was the pavement maintenance.
Right.
The pavement maintenance.
So I think as many as we can do, obviously, we do, but at least that money is available for microsurfacing.
But just
Right,
keep
this
in
was
mind-
to keep the yellow roads from going red.
Correct.
Any more questions about Councilman Menon's proposal? You might want to repeat that.
How do we feel about 1.25 in roads and 250 in microsurfacing to make it an EV 15?
My just only,
Stand up.
my just sense is number of ordinances that I'm looking at now that still have outstanding for microsurfacing, road resurfacing. I count at least 3 ordinances that have this. I remember when we asked the DPW director, the answer was they didn't get to it yet with the people. So I'm hesitant to add more cash to the the process if we still haven't used up all the money that's in the existing ordinance.
You know what?
So I just want to make sure that all the ordinance dollars can get spent first before adding more to it.
No, the mill and pave was done. It is just there's no permanent financing on the mill and pave projects in order to reallocate. The only project that was still pending was the microsurfacing of Clinton. That's it. That was the only issue, and that is a nominal amount. If you see balances on other projects, like Susan had explained, there's no permanent financing yet, so until that happens, those funds cannot be moved around.
That's correct.
I'm not sure what the permanent financing element is, the cash that's in.
When we go out and sell bonds, right now, we only have notes out, and they're temporary financing.
So is this money being held up, or this money is not actually there?
There's money there in notes, but there's short-term financing. But also, the total ordinances should be completed and canceled and then reallocated by reappropriation. And they're not done yet. There's two things going on there.
Still sounds weird, but I'll take your word for it.
Any other questions on Councilman Menon's proposal? Lizette, ask the group.
Any other questions regarding Councilman Menon's proposal to reduce the program from 1.5 to 750,000, in which $500,000 is mill and pave and 250 is microsurfacing?
How many roads do we lose at $1 million?
What do we?
What's the rationale for why wouldn't we be doing these roads? I think the town needs it. And Councilman Menon, any reason why you're lowering it?
We have some concerns about, the size of the capital program.
Well, I think we heard from Susan that at this level, about $287,000 of debt, she was putting in $325. It sounds like there's still $50,000 of space. Even if I'm not saying we want to use that space, but it certainly sounds below where she says our cap is.
Well, depending on where this ends up, I'll look at it again, too.
Right. But it doesn't sound like we're above the number.
So I'm going to throw one comment out here for, again, just for reflection for the council, is that interest rates are extremely low. Roads are important to us, and this could be an opportunity to keep some of the green and prevent the red from getting redder at the lowest cost of capital in pretty much forever. And the cost of capital will only go up, and we'll also be paving roads next year and beyond next year. So please keep that in mind when you make this decision.
All right, well, I will say that, I am comfortable with Councilman Men's proposal because we're already doubling what we spent, and that's not counting Hudson. That's an awful large increase. And to Councilman Michael's point, I understand what we can go up to, but I'm looking at the capital improvement fund and what we used to spend and where we're heading in a time where not only are the interest rates low, but we're also going to be looking at decreased revenue in this year, according to the email we saw before. So we have to anticipate that we're going to have a tighter budget. And we have a bunch of people who want a wish list added that's going to more than compensate for the differences that we're talking about.
So then I would go back. I know it was passed over when I proposed it, but I agree with Councilman Dayton. If we know the roads program is sort of that, we'd be good with 1.5, we'd be good with 2. Why don't we put this on hold, see what we all agree to as a council on the other things, and see if there is remaining dollars to spend. It sounds like the road should be the last decision we make, not the first.
I was just going to say, let's hold it till the end, so thank you for that.
So,
Can I just ask a question? This is Julie. Regarding microservicing itself, it's good to fund it because it actually preserves roads, right? Is that the purpose of microsurfacing? So I think that's just important to be remembered how he's allocating some money there. So.
Okay, I'm going to recommend,
Road resurfacing, they do it every year.
I mean,
so if there's no further questions, I'm going to
But was that, somebody brought up Hudson Ave, that's not gonna be done this year.
No, it's a 2021 project.
Right, so I think we need to make that clear.
since when? Was it, we funded and got the grants for, as far as, you know, last I spoke with our DPW meeting, that was 2020. What happened?
No, that was section 1. We went out to bid for. This is section 2 that
That
we,
was 2018 we bid for section 1, I thought.
no.
2019?
We put in for the grant in 18, put it in the budget in 19, and then, we
Right, so I
received,
thought we
and then,
went out for it in
but that's
2018.
only section 1. And then we received notice of that award late last year, and we had to wait until after the winter to go out to bid. We did bidding and design, we have the bid tabulation, so in the next meeting or two would be a recommendation of award for that portion. The one that Susan is referencing is section 2. With DOT grants, you pick a large road and you divide it up into sections. We just received notification of that award, but we have until late 2021, 2022 to spend that money. So that is not included, section 2 is not included in this capital budget. What's included as far as the roads are today were the roads that Mazer had proposed, and then there was a DPW committee meeting in which you provided roads with Councilman Grossman, and that's how that road project was determined, and Hudson is not part of that.
That is correct.
Hudson was discussed at that meeting as this year's roads, but getting it in a grant.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we
But you
submitted for
still have
that
to
grant.
appropriate for it, it's not in the capital plan.
Yes. That meeting was held, the award wasn't issued, it was just notifying at that meeting, we solicited for that grant, and we're waiting for it, and subsequent after that meeting, we received the award. And I checked with the borough engineer, and he said this has to be a 2021 project.
Okay.
So it'll be in next year's capital?
Yes.
Again, this should have been on like the update reports, and, because I've been going forward thinking Hudson's included this whole time.
I did provide that report.
okay, so let's poll the council, yes or no on Councilman Menon's proposal to change the number from 1.5 to 750,000 with the details understood of how it breaks down of the 750,000.
Councilmember Dayton?
I'd like to do Adam's suggestion and do this last so that we can discuss the remaining capital.
We can't keep going around in circles. Poll the council and go down the list and see where we go.
Lauren, just say no and we'll get back to it.
Right.
Yeah. Councilmember Dayton?
No, I'm not saying no. Wait, no, hold on, because you tell me I can't undo a vote. So again, I don't want a formal vote on the table unless I
Right, I agree.
have all the information. So are we going to discuss the swim club and the median and the electric lights and the traffic and the garbage cans and the
So
lights?
I have a question for the
And see how that
council.
money works out.
I have a question for the council. We know the approximate amount of the capital budget. Which topic do you want to decide first? And let's talk about that one and not waste time talking about things out of order.
Well, I think two of your council people have asked to toll this discussion till the end.
So
Why don't we see if
that's,
there's a consensus on the council to do so?
so that's
So what
fine.
order do we want to do, what order do we want to
Right.
do it in?
What do you,
To me, the roads are the biggest thing, so I'd rather see the smaller pieces fall out, like the aerial truck and anything else, before I decide if
Trying
I'm
to get a
putting in
straight answer here.
$500,000 on roads or nothing on roads.
so
You're
so
putting in
Lizette,
something.
Yes.
ask the
Well,
council.
by the use of smaller pieces, I get how you're referring to the number, but you have to really look in order of priority.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, things are
Correct.
maybe a smaller dollar amount, but they could be a higher priority or they could be lower. The number isn't what drives the priority.
Correct.
I'm happy to put in the road resurfacing. I think absolutely that's a priority. But since I've already put in 1.5 million, which is the biggest road program we've ever had, I'd like to see if we could spend money elsewhere in the town before I commit to another $500,000.
So does the council have any particular program they would like to start with? Just pick one, and we'll talk about it.
Well, I started with
Electrical
the,
lighting.
go.
Electrical lighting. We voted it in on the very first budget meeting when we did capital. I asked for $20,000 for electrical
How much?
lighting. It's not in the
Okay,
budget.
so
We
let's,
voted it in.
let's start with this. Does the council want to put $20,000 in the budget for electrical lighting?
Yes.
So poll the council.
Yes.
Let's poll, we'll do this quickly.
Yes, poll the council.
Councilmember Dayton.
For the
Lighting.
record, we already did this vote, but I'm a yes.
Councilmember Grossman.
Yes.
Councilmember Menon.
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
No.
Okay, next topic. What's the next topic you'd like to talk about?
That in my capital plan. Downtown electrical lighting, correct, 20,000.
What was that, Lizette?
Adam, go for it.
This is, I want to know if we have the downtown concept plan. This is the $50,000 for the downtown concept plan.
Now, is that the concept plan that's going in the planning board budget?
Yes, as long as it's in there, then I'm good.
So is that a
Last time, I want confirmation.
Yeah. We had time out.
timeout? Ask Susan how this goes.
Talking about, I'm confused now. The concept plan, that's the money you were talking about putting in the operating?
Yes, for downtown study under planning services.
Yeah, we gotta hold off on that. I really you have to stick to this capital and then we'll go back to operating for that.
Okay.
Then let's put it in the capital plan then. I want to make sure it's in there.
Adam, you can't arbitrarily put it in different budgets. It has to go in the operating plan for that one.
Yes.
Well, at the last, I was told it had to be in the capital. Every time I ask, it goes differently. Actually, I've been
Why would this be in operating? This should be in capital.
Wait, what is it that exactly that's gonna be done?
This is a
study. It's a study.
downtown, for downtown planning.
So it's a study for downtown planning?
Correct.
Councilman Menon?
Oh,
Then she's done.
Well, I think it probably could go into capital, but how much is the study?
$50,000. We have the proposal already. We have a proposal already, not necessarily the proposal we're going to use.
Clarification, how much is the
We're
money?
gonna poll the whole governing body.
Sure.
5-0 or 15?
5-0.
Okay, so let's poll the council, $50,000 downtown development plan to go in the capital budget.
Councilmember Dayton.
So my understanding is that we're going to be looking for an outside, new take on this, so then I'm a yes.
Instead of using Burgess for an RFQ.
You got it, you got one, yes, go ahead.
Correct.
Councilmember Grossman.
I think this is so not thought out yet that it's just throwing money that we're possibly not going to spend the way we've done on other things. I think this needs, my turn.
I'm sorry, you're right.
We have not vetted this out. We haven't discussed this out. This is from a brand new committee, just like out of nowhere. So I think it should be something discussed in great detail and have a formal plan, and that should be part of 2021. I think it gives the downtown committee a goal. So I am a no for many, many reasons.
Good.
Councilmember Menon.
So I was, you know, I've heard both sides, and it's kind of tempting to want to do the downtown plan as, you know, as just kind of a knee jerk, we have to do it. But I see the merits of Jeff's suggestion, and I'm not sure that we get one, you know, one quote, and that's the 50,000 that we put in. I wouldn't object to putting it lower, but at 50,000.
Can you speak to the microphone? This is Julie.
It's no.
Councilmember Menon said no. Councilmember Michaels.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Connor.
No.
Councilmember Park.
No.
Okay, so no downtown study. What is the next item?
Next item, we voted already on the very first day in Capitol. I asked for some new garbage cans in downtown with a budget of $8,000.
So
We
let's,
already pulled the table and we already voted on this, but if you want to pull it again, that's fine. But I would like to
Jeff, how
refer
much-
to the notices at last budget meeting because
just gonna pull
we
the
voted
council.
on this already.
go ahead.
Jeff, how much was one of those garbage cans?
Well, it depends. If we're talking about the
We have
big
up-
belly,
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not. That's hideous. I think we can look at our options,
I was gonna ask that
but I
question.
think 4 to 6 garbage cans for $8,000 to get rid of the ones with rocks from the 1970s.
What?
Lots of possible options to recycle. I think that's well worth it.
Okay.
wait,
Okay.
Lauren, I know you say they're hideous. You've checked out the big belly, which are used in almost every county around us in their parks because they're effective. They don't look bad. They actually compact stuff so that they don't overflow.
You know what?
Okay.
If we want to consider that, I'm totally fine with that. We did pick.
Well, you just said they're hideous. You just said they're hideous, so we won't consider it.
They're ugly, but, that wasn't really the view I was looking for. Are they attractive? No. If you think they're super functional, fine. I think I was giving this option to the head of the DPW to pick a garbage can that's functional. I don't need to pick it. I just want to put a budget in it and get it picked.
And how much are we talking about?
$8,000.
So my question is, how did we get to this $8,000 number?
Mayor Zina inquired, how did we get to this $8,000 number?
From a brochure. Oh, no.
No.
Okay, let's,
I don't have a quote because we didn't quote for garbage cans.
so from a brochure, let's ask, any more council members have any more questions about this?
So are we not voting on that? Because we already
Yeah.
voted it in.
I'm polling the
Poll the
It
council.
already got 4 votes during the first capital round.
Now we did it. Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
I believe I was a no last time, so we shouldn't be re-voting.
Councilmember Menon?
Yeah, I think I was a no last time also.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Connor?
I think I was a no last time. I'm still a no, sorry.
Councilmember Park?
No.
Okay, next
I would
up.
like to refer to the original notes on that one. We did have 4 yeses. I have it written down. I
Okay,
don't know who they were, but.
so let's move on to the next topic.
I have like to propose the next one. I would like to put in the Swim Club letter of intent to do the survey of the property about what's allowed in the land.
Okay, that was discussed at the last meeting, and there's leftover money from a funded ordinance of $18,000, and then the decision of the governing body that the borough engineer was here was to take the balance out of open space. So the decision was
And I would like to
to
discuss.
fund
What
that.
was the total cost of the letter of
It
intent?
was about 28 and change, 29.
Yeah, that's
29,000
fine. I remember that.
minus how much do you have
Voted
available?
on. I thought we didn't vote on it.
So you need 11,000 out of open space?
That was the decision, that was the consensus of the governing body at the last meeting.
So we're all on the same page with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, next question.
I'd like to propose the next.
Is there a next question? Is there a next topic?
Is there a next topic?
Yes, I would like to put in the budget, the swim club renovation budget and design budget, to pull out the pool and get an architectural or green space view
That
of what
should be
can be
coming out
done
of
with
open
that land.
space.
I would say no.
What?
This is,
Isn't this the circular argument about the letter of intent?
Yeah.
no, the letter of
That should come out
intent
of
tells you
open
what,
space.
what part of the land you may use. The second part tells you how you can use it.
It's the same concept as the downtown. What do we want to do there?
That's why I'm hiring,
So-
I want an expert. I
Was
am
that-
not an architectural landscape designer.
Perhaps.
I would like to refer to it.
No. We don't know what we want there.
I
Same
know what
concept as why we just shut down the downtown study. We need more time.
That's exactly the thing. I love that you said you just shot it down. It's unbelievable, this council, the inability to actually take action. And I love the word you just shot it down. I love it.
I love it. I love it.
At the
We don't
last,
have enough. We don't have enough.
One at a time.
okay, at the
Done, it's
last.
fine.
Well, we know we have to take the pools out.
Okay.
This would at least cover that type of construction.
Okay, at the last council meeting, not budget meeting, the council meeting where the borough engineer was here, that was discussed, and I was directed to see if this would qualify as a Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund grant project, and we're waiting to hear back from the county, because what I was told, it was removing the pool and filling it with gravel and rock. So we're waiting to see if that's even a viable project to use the Open Space Trust Fund and supplement it with our open space.
Well, I do think the pool is still a hazard. I think it's unsightly also. I don't believe that that should be left for another complete year and a half before we do anything about it. If we budget for it and we at least have the budget, if we wind up with open space, that's great. But I also am not sure I'd want to use this amount of open space money. Again, we need a budget to actually go forward on this project.
I'm going to make it, okay. So I just want to weigh in my opinion on this particular project. We have to take that pool out. It has sat there for 3 years, and every year it just costs us more and more money. And if we decide to do this next year, it's going to cost more money than it's never going to get lower or cheaper, and it is a hazard, and eventually someone's going to fall into it. So I'm recommending to the council, whether we take this out of open space or we put it in the capital budget, it needs to get done.
Hold on, there's two different things now. This is to remove the pool or to redo the whole area?
Both. The quote given to us by Mazer was $300,000 for the work that would be removing the pool, filling it in, and doing a study.
And doing a what?
And doing
Somewhere
study.
there's a quote, either Cisner or Lizette has it.
Right,
I for one thing, I think that since we were agreeing to a letter of intent for the area, I just think this is an enormous amount of money, $300,000 project to pull out this pool and redo it. Why don't we this year do the letter of intent, really learn about the area, and then see where we go from there? I understand all these interest rates are really low and we can bond in the future, but I don't see why we have to go full steam ahead. It's not like it's in the center of town being unsightly where everyone can see it. It's been there 3 years. It could be there another year.
Full steam ahead in government is the next 3 years we'll be planning this. This is just to kick off the planning.
Can we have a letter
The government,
that
the
we're...
way government works, if you don't fund a landscape design, an architectural design, a possible ability to have a building there, if you don't start working on these, you're not seeing it in the next 5 years. It is such a slow process. This at least
Yeah, but that was what the letter was, the $28,000.
No, the letter is permission to use the land. Saying that it is not protected, it is not flood zoned, it is not whatever it is. It'll tell us where the...
DEP is authorizing that we can actually do something with it.
Right, okay. So
now we have to plan what we're doing with it, and that's why I'm asking for a budget to hire some expertise here to guide us.
So do we have a number, I'm going to ask the question again because I'm very forgetful. Do we have a number of what the plan would cost us?
Mazer quoted this to us. I don't have the quote in front of
I was
me.
directed to obtain an updated number, which I am waiting for, but the updated number was for removal of the pool and filling in with the rocks and the gravel. Nothing about a plan.
Only, that's it, right?
Yes,
Well, that's a separate thing.
as a standalone
That's separate.
project.
yes.
Okay, we just don't know what that cost is.
I don't know what the cost is, and
I
I don't
don't
know if it's a viable grant project. I'm waiting for confirmation on those two items.
So was that
I'm
the
not so sure I'd
cost
want to
of,
spend the grant money on rocks. I'd rather spend the money on the actual green space.
so,
It is two different issues. I mean, we don't know the cost of just filling in the pool, that's one thing. And then the second thing is how we would
Let me-
decide to fund it,
Okay.
is the second thing. And I just don't know how we could do any of this without that piece of information, because filling in the pool might be its own project that we're
To
willing
me,
to go.
filling in the pool is temporary. It's a temporary
Okay,
Or
interrupt them, I want to say
it's
something.
temporary. If we're looking to make
Hold
a
on one
community center,
moment,
a
Mayor
green
Zena
space,
has a
anything.
comment. Hold on one moment, as the chair, Mayor Zena will be
So
speaking.
I just want to put some feedback. I had extensive conversations with Andy Hippolyte about this. The cost of taking the pool out and, filling in the ground properly with earth, that sort of thing, is about $225,000. The cost of the gravel, which is a temporary solution, is about $80,000. That doesn't include taking the gravel out when you have to eventually do the pool the right way. So
it is a little over $300,000, just the projects
well,
with
no, that's not,
filling in the pool.
Julie, that's not my point. My point is the gravel is a complete waste of money, because if you do the gravel, you still have to take it all out again, which I don't know what the cost is for that, and then it'll still cost you $200,000, $250,000 to still do it the right way. So you don't want to throw $80,000 away for a short-term fix.
But then if I keep hearing from everybody how this is such a good time with low interest rates and bonding things, isn't this the perfect project for bonding? It seems like quite a lot of money.
Well, it absolutely,
I would like the study. I would like the ability to have an expert come to this piece of property and advise us as a council and mayor what we can and cannot do on this.
so the question is,
Not
the letter of intent?
does the
but the actual possibilities here.
That's
So
the letter, that's the letter that says that we
That's
can
not the
do.
letter of
So the
intent.
question is really,
That's
how much is it going to
permission.
cost approximately for a plan? That's what I'm,
Dan, what do you?
Can you explain what the letter of intent covers?
The letter of intent is to do a delineation of wetlands, and the DEP will say, this is, you can do something, you cannot, and let's say out of 100% of this area, you could only work on 20% or 75%, but that DEP first you have to designate the wetlands, and the DEP will tell you what you can do, if you could do anything, and in what portion, if not a whole. And then once you have
So almost
that,
like they'll give you the aerial survey, right?
it's more, yes. And then once you have that, and you
Now
have
we-
guidance from the DEP, then you could bring somebody in for a study, because if you bring someone in for a study and they come up with this proposal, and the DEP says, oh wait, you could do more, or wait, you have to scale it back, you just spent money on a study without guidance.
so does this,
So we get the LOI, and then we'd hire the person, but it could also be all done within 1 year. The other thing is that we already did this.
Why would we budget for that, not knowing the end game?
Yeah.
And the LOI
We have
would
Just
be,
like-
the
would
end
be
game
done
is to
with
develop.
the
Hold on. Hold on.
go ahead, Dan. Dan, you have the floor.
To combine everyone's conversation, we got the LOI, DEP says you can't do anything. Now we have the gravel option just to keep it covered. And we know we can't do anything. Why would we spend $225 on a property we don't know? We know we can't develop. Why wouldn't we spend the $80,000 on gravel and keep it like that?
So Dan, we studied this in 2018, and I had that study resent out to the council recently. So a good portion of the property you can use either as a green space or possibly a structure. We're waiting to see if we can get a structure. What can't be used is the area immediately right next to the brook on the far side and the right side that borders the high school parking lot. That is flood zone. But everything else can be converted to a green space, and we've already looked at that. But we need the official okay, which is the LOI, to say go for it. Then, so we know already.
Can you
that-
guarantee that without the LOI? Right now, for $225,000, can you guarantee that?
I'm asking for the LOI so I can get.
You're taking a 20-25 gamble on a letter. You have no idea what's going to come back as.
Excuse me, I have a suggestion.
Interrupt, let Susan talk.
Can you guys hear me?
Susan, you have the
Okay.
floor.
How about you do this? You get the letter of intent going, and then Mark has a point about the cost going up, and you put enough money in the operating for a down payment, and then after your letter of intent is done, you can amend the capital plan and do another ordinance to take the pool out.
So that sounds like a
I'm
good
not worried about getting
compromise.
the pool out. I'm more worried about getting the professionals, a landscape designer or an architect to come look and give me a proposal of what could be there. Can I make a
So
community?
why don't you
Can I
first
make a
do the
green
letter
space?
of intent?
You're doing it backwards.
You need.
Do the
and-
letter of intent
and-
and
Both
put
of them
enough
the same
in the
year.
capital
In order
improvement
for
fund
this
that you can
professional,
amend the capital.
in order for this professional to do the study, he or she will need to know what area can be worked with, what area are you
Right.
evaluating. By the time this budget, the capital budget is done and the capital ordinance and the estoppel period, money will not be available for any of this until the end of May, beginning of beginning of June, for the study to be done. The study will take at least a couple of months, then it has to be submitted to the DEP, then you have to wait for the DEP to get back to you, and that could take several months. You won't know whether or not you can even do anything in 2020 at all.
I think Susan's,
Mazer told me it would take 1 month to get the LOI.
okay, so I think Susan's comment, Susan's suggestion is the best, because basically, everyone can agree, that's something we can all agree on, because it provides money for the plan and a down payment and operating, so that if you decide to go through with the plan, you can amend the capital budget after we have the details of what we're going to do, and then you can invest the money. It sounds like a good compromise.
How much down payment, Susan?
Well, how much, Mayor, what did you say the amount was, 300 altogether?
So if you did the gravel and the pool itself, taking it out, yes, it's 300,000 would be worst-case scenario.
So
But that's not including the study. That doesn't include the study.
Well, no.
The study, we already said there was money, that's there from other sources.
No, not the DEP study.
No, the letter of intent
Sorry,
she's
the
saying
plan,
not
the
that.
design plan, I'm
Oh.
sorry, wrong word, the design.
That's
That's backwards.
15,000 in the capital plan.
15,000?
No.
The operating, 15,000. I was gonna put in 325 or less, depending on where we end up here. And the other little bit of amount was just in case we want to do extra projects, which come up later in the year, which they generally do.
Yes, like the CDBG
So-
comes in late in the year.
So I think that, I think it's a win-win to just have the down payment ready, and that way we know that should we want to do it this year, we can.
I'm fine with that. Anybody else?
Is everyone good with that?
How much are we talking
You're saying
about?
the down payment for the pool removal only.
I'm saying with Mark, well, do the letter
Yes.
if you can, see what comes up. Mark said the amount's about 300,000. I put in the operating 15,000 for down payment. I'm gonna put maybe a little more than that. So if we put in a little more, we have funding, just in case something else needs to be done with
So
it.
then it's only for the pool removal.
No, but can I
That's
use
not
that
what
to
I'm-
hire?
No.
So if I want to make an RFQ for an architect, how do I do that?
You cannot do an RFQ
Wait till
until
next
you need to have all the money in place. Because once you
I'm
do it and
trying
you issue an award, Susan has to certify. There's no money to certify, and there's no money to certify for a study if you don't know what can be done. We have to wait to hear from the powers that be at the DEP.
Fine.
That's all. This simply just has to be done in logical order, that's all. And we're just putting the money aside here to start the first phase.
Can-
This is why I think
can I-
our-
Give Jeff the floor.
go ahead, Jeff.
Can I just suggest, again, putting things for future discussion? We need to discuss what ideas we have, because, telling a planner, tell us what to do with this. When I want an architect to build a home, I don't just say, design a home. I tell them what I have in mind and what's feasible. And I think as a council, we need, after we have all these pieces in place, to have that discussion so we know what we're telling to a landscape architect or a park designer.
Jeff, you and I are on the pool club committee. We created it to have those exact discussions. We voted us into the pool club committee.
Okay.
Right, so that's the discussion we'll have.
All right, so is the question I'm asking, is Susan's suggestion the one the council wants to go with? And it's,
I would like to have
How
two
much are we
different
talking
lines in the operating budget. for the
She's
pool
talking about a
renovation
down payment
and
amount.
for
How
possibly an
much?
RFQ then. Okay.
28,
Let's say the architect-
20,000
The
for down
architect would
payment.
be part of soft cost
That's fine.
of the
Yeah.
capital project.
Okay.
So let's
Which
say,
we don't have.
well, no, but let's say October comes and the pool removal and a couple other things want to be part of the project. You'll have to see if there's enough down payment money in the operating to be adequate enough to do a project if you add something onto it.
So Susan, how much down payment dollars are you talking about?
Well, you know what, as soon as we get done with this, right now it's 15,000.
How much did she say?
But I don't know what we need the architect for. Like, we don't even have a plan right now.
Exactly.
Right, so we're not talking about an architect.
No, you can't have an architect unless you know what you're gonna do.
Right.
Okay, I'm fine. We'll move on. I'm trying to move the goal. I'm trying to move this town forward.
Okay, so we're all in agreement with this?
Yep.
Okay, next item. Go ahead.
Can we just confirm
I'd
that
like to
we've
talk about the
decided?
median proposal for River Edge. We heard from Andy at
Okay.
Major the other evening. He
Wait a
gave us quotes.
You want to
He
go back
told
and
us
confirm?
about
It sounds like
the
everybody's
possible pedestrian
$15,000.
safety grant, which is due in
No,
April.
That's the down
So
payment.
Don't fund this
30 and
now, we
15.
cannot go for that grant.
30 for the letter of intent and 15 for the down payment.
30 is going in the operating, or where is it? What did? Okay. Yes, yes.
Okay.
I cannot hear anybody.
Yeah. Go ahead, have her ask the question again.
Okay. What was the
Is
question
it not
again?
eligible for open space if we go for the pedestrian safety grant?
No.
She's seeking
What's no?
funding for the median.
So,
Talking about the median.
so
Why would that be open space?
do we have
I'm
numbers
saying
yet?
it's not eligible. That's what I said.
What? So where are we with this project in terms of planning approval? Do we have a plan for this or a proposal?
It's gone to our engineering. It's gone to our police department. The next steps were Andy and I were supposed to go to the county to make sure everything was fine. And of course, with Corona, we have not had that meeting.
So are there any costs gathered at all?
Yes, Andy gave us numbers in a written form, and he gave it to Susan, was that, I don't know, somebody. That he quoted it at $250, and he came to me the other night, and he said the same numbers.
250,000? Hold on, we're just
And again,
checking some
I think
research.
the project would be a very good project and eligible for, if we want to try it, a pedestrian safety grant for River Edge Road to keep the pedestrians safe and the commuters safe and everything else. Lots of beautified, lots of serves a nice purpose of lighting up the area. Accomplishes a lot, and I think it's a small project that would make a big difference in that industrialized area. And I believe the pedestrian safety grant is a matching grant, so hopefully we'll get back cash. But it is due in April, and so if we need to make decisions on this, so we could apply for this grant.
Hopefully you'll have an extension too if this passes.
Yeah,
I don't see.
I think all grants should be extended.
Yeah, we can't assume on any extensions for this, from the state on anything. Lizette is doing research on this right now, that's why we're a little quiet here.
Fine.
The only thing that was provided regarding the median was the map, the GIS map that shows Tenafly Road, River Edge Road, Grove Street. There was no monetary amount attached to that. I'm looking
Well,
at-
Andy came in person and told you the monetary amount, and that's not true because I had something in writing in the monetary amount. Where did that go?
Okay, so
I have it from him. I have it in writing. Hold on.
can we have some other council members weigh in on this thing, what they would like to do, please, while the research is going on?
Well, I'll tell you, I think it's a much more noticeable part of town, clearly, than the pool. So I'm more inclined to support something beautifying. I know that Jeff has mentioned in the past we want to make sure that it does improve pedestrian safety, so that's obviously important, but I do know that when I talk to people in the community, they do find that road, very dangerous, and I think it needs something. So, and it doesn't seem like all that much money. It seems like less money than other things that have been floated, so.
Additionally, any other council people weighing in?
I'm trying to find it in writing.
I think this should be held off until the downtown study is done, since it's part of the downtown.
Isn't that what you,
It's separate and distinct. That's one's a traffic study, one's a building use.
how are we holding off on the downtown study as everyone said no to it?
If and when the downtown study gets done, they should be a part of it, rather than committing $250 for a permanent structure. It's got to flow.
First of all, it's not so permanent. If it needs to come out, it'll come out, but it's a structure that would...
You want to pay $250 to put in a raised meeting, only to maybe later remove it?
Why would we later remove it?
No, I think you both misunderstood each other
Once
there.
we do the downtown study, let it flow all in one big project.
The downtown study is for the use of the land, not for the traffic.
Why would it not include that?
Because that's not what they're being tasked. That's not what Adam has asked for.
So flow of traffic in the downtown area does not affect the downtown area?
Yeah. So
There's a closed session item where we might lose parking spots
so
in the near future.
Dan, I want to make a comment. There is so much conversation that this sounds like more like a work session than a budget discussion, because we're only talking about the money in very, very general terms.
Hold the table.
But I can't-
No, I will say, I have asked for a, pedestrian safety person to come. I got 1 minute or 2 minutes with Andy Hippolyte in the middle of budget discussion. Haven't heard directly from the police chief. I actually emailed him, but he's been busy, asking him to tell me which roads in the last few years have had the most pedestrian knockdowns so we can prioritize where the danger spots are.
Well, we know someone got run over on this road already.
I know someone's gotten run over on a lot of roads.
Okay,
I know several people got hit on East
this is
Clinton.
a work session
We can
conversation.
widen East Clinton and put something down that, bike lanes, but we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
But we're putting this because we want this suddenly without prioritizing.
Yeah. Okay,
We're sitting there not prioritizing.
all right, so,
I'm
hello?
not prioritizing. I'm trying to get things done, and this accomplishes many goals. It accomplishes pedestrian safety. It accomplishes traffic flow. It accomplishes better use for the commuters of the space. It accomplishes beautification of downtown. It lights up our downtown. Our downtown feels less industrial. Maybe stores will come.
Our downtown, first of all, hold on, Lauren. That's the second time you've referred to our downtown as industrial. It's commercial. We do have an industrial section. It's closer to Cresskill. It is commercial. And it's a very, very different vibe.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you. Lizette, interrupt them because they can't.
Like, it's not enjoyable to walk
Okay,
around.
hold on a second.
The mayor has the
Hold-
floor as the chair.
Hold on. This whole conversation, regardless of who's right or wrong, this is a work session conversation taking place in a budget meeting. We simply do not have the details, the numbers, anything in writing to make any decision on this tonight. I think earlier, one of the council members...
We do, and I'm sorry, Andy's already come up with the budget. If you don't have it in your hand, have Andy email it to you tomorrow because he's presented it
Okay.
to the council at a work session.
Okay,
So
so-
saying we don't have the numbers is not accurate.
Let-
He's given us the numbers.
Do we want to poll the council here and move this to a work session because we don't have the, or then someone, yeah, for
I'd
a
like to poll the table for a vote to put this in the budget.
2021 project, or we can just guess about how much money we want to spend here and what else it affects.
We have the numbers. I'd like to poll the table. I'm calling a poll the table.
So let's,
Only the chair can call the poll the
Right.
table under Robert's rules as
That is
parliamentary
not true.
procedure.
so we're
The
gonna,
council can ask for a vote.
so let's poll the table. Is this a 2021 project, yes or no?
For 2021, Councilmember Dayton.
The cost is $250 from our engineer. I'm hoping to get a matching grant to reduce it to $125. My answer is yes.
For 2021?
You mean no?
You mean no, Lauren?
Oh, no, I mean this year, 2020.
The question posed before the table is
What is the
2021. So it's a no for 2021.
Be a two-part vote.
No. The question should be, do you want it in this budget? Why are we asking you to
Yes,
do it?
it should be, do you want it in this budget?
That's, okay, that's fine, I'll ask the question a different way. Does the council want this in the 2020 budget, yes or no?
2020 budget, Councilmember Dayton.
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman.
No.
Councilmember Menon.
No.
Councilmember Michaels.
No.
Councilmember O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
No.
Okay, so it's not in this year's capital budget.
Okay, next question, please. Oh, no more questions? Have we covered them? We can go back to the road decision?
Well, then, no, we have to go to the training
No,
truck.
I have one more that we actually discussed already.
Okay, go ahead.
We put in 4 bottle filler filtration water fountains.
So for bottled water filtration fountains.
And we even picked the parks.
Okay, so how much money is that?
The original quote was 20, and I don't remember what we decided on the numbers.
I think there was
Said whatever
concern
was
that
gonna
it
be for
included the installation, right?
It was gonna be whatever the cost was for 4 of them, and nobody got back to me on it.
So, I can't hear, so do we have a number, or yes or no?
No.
It was in, or Lizette was supposed to get a number.
No, I was not directed to get a number. This was something.
Yes, you were. It's
No,
in my
I
notes.
wasn't.
It said, you decided on 4, and you didn't get the actual.
No, it was mentioned at the meeting, there was no vote. It was mentioned last year at a council meeting to propose it, and the consensus of the governing
It was
body.
mentioned in the capital plan on the first day of capital. We even discussed which 4 parks we were gonna put it in.
Yeah, Bob Culver has a question. Bob, please.
I don't have a question, I have a statement.
Go ahead, Bob, make your statement.
My statement is, I have 5 of the hideous water fountains in
I
storage.
can't hear anything.
So,
Good. Speak into the microphone, please.
I have 5 or possibly 6 of the water fountains that are in the parks now, brand new, in storage. No need to buy new ones. If you want to replace the ones in the park or add one, I have them in stock already.
You have 5 new water fountains in storage?
Yes.
That have never been used?
Never been used.
Repeat that to the council, is that so they understand it?
Are they the water filtration ones that
No, they
fill
are
up the
not.
water box?
They're now water filtration. 5 existing brand-new fountains were found in the DPW, which can be installed at the parks without spending any money.
I wanted the ones that filter out the lead, the water filtration ones.
Can we get it to, or fix for filtration?
No, they're precast concrete, similar to the ones that are in there now. They apparently bought after.
That sucks. They suck.
So, Lizette, should we poll the council about,
You're looking at
Okay, so calling the
a
council,
lot of work.
and how,
go ahead,
she's
Lizette.
basing 4 on 20,000, estimating 5,000. Did he ever receive a proposal for
I
5,000?
have no written proposals for any installation.
Again, it was left as an item that you or Susan were supposed to get pricing on. We voted for 4.
No, well, you had mentioned it, and then you said Bob Culver gave you estimates, and I spoke with Mr. Culver, and he said he was not instructed to obtain the estimates because during a meeting in the fall, it had been proposed, and based on just a preliminary discussion with the borough plumber, that it came to about 8,000 or so. The consensus of the governing body was not to move forward with this because there were other major infrastructure priorities that would be in the 2020 budget.
So you have the pricing then. So you have the pricing.
That was there
$8,000.
was not
No,
a
it
written
was-
proposal, it was a discussion
It
with the
was just
plumber.
a verbal discussion.
And since there was no consensus on to proceed, no
But you were
further
tasked-
estimates were obtained.
You were tasked after the last capital
I was
meeting, you
not.
were tasked to get an accurate price for 4 of them, which is what the council at the table decided in the budget.
I was not tasked. You said that you spoke with Bob Pulver.
Yes, you were.
I spoke with Bob Pulver, and that's the answer.
Because they said they were, they don't like council's decision.
That is not an accurate answer of a BA, okay? I'm sorry, this is getting ridiculous.
Okay, so
We
let's,
rely on our professionals, and you are one of them, and I'm sorry. This
Right.
was, this.
Oh,
hasn't
I'll
been
be more
four
than
of
glad
them.
to go to the
You
table.
realize why I'm getting so frustrated?
okay, let's back up here. I'd like to know from the council if they, first is the concept, if they want, does the council want to buy the water filtration fountains?
Wait, by the way, I find you double voting something completely not kosher. This is not the way it's supposed to go. We did this vote already.
So do you want, should I poll the council to agree or disagree on whether we did the vote already, or should I poll the council about whether they want the water fountains or not? I'm happy to do it either way. So let's poll the council, excuse me?
For this year, in this year's budget.
For this year's budget, do you want the water the new
We
water?
did discuss it. There's no question. We
We did
discussed it.
discuss it, and we agreed on four of them.
So we're in agreement on, the council's in agreement on 4 of these?
Yes.
And the approximate cost is $20,000 in total?
What's the
I wrote
number?
down, I wrote
We don't
down,
have a written number.
I wrote down 2,000 each too. But nobody decided on this yet. It was 8,000 each at guesstimate. And it was from Unifield, Sunnyside, Roosevelt, and Walnut.
You even picked the park. And I have no ability to get an estimate here. The DA and the CFO and the DPW head were supposed to come up with an estimate after the last capital meeting.
But, well, you know what, Warren, I want you to try to understand something. These
Okay.
estimates are being asked of us at the last hour.
We discussed this in December. We discussed it in
I
December.
wasn't even here.
Okay. Let's,
When you do a plan.
so is the estimated number $8,000 that was generally estimated?
No, you need 8,000 each. So you're talking 32,000.
No.
But is that accurate or is that a complete overestimate? I don't know.
Neither do
Then
I.
why would we budget for it?
That's right.
Dan, because we need to fix up our towns and we need to make progress here. And
Correct, but in the proper procedure. You can't just throw random
I
numbers
asked
out.
for a proper estimate here. I asked for it.
Yeah,
Now we're at the last minute, and you don't have a number, so we can't vote on it.
yeah.
That is not my.
All right, guys, we need to,
No one's saying it's anyone's fault. We just can't do it as a governing body.
this,
It's improper the way you're operating.
yeah. So let's back up for a second.
We're not following all the procedures.
What about if we say that, because we all seem to go with the $20,000 assumption, and we did vote for these fountains in the last meetings, so why don't we see what 20,000 would purchase? If it purchases 4 with installation or just 2, I mean, I think that might be a good way to split the difference.
I'm fine with that because I'm sorry, I do not have information that I asked for.
So budget,
go backwards?
budget the 20,
Yeah.
budget the 20 and as many as we can get for the 20.
Okay, so the question on the floor here is, what I'm hearing is that we're going to put $20,000 in the budget for these particular filtering water fountains, and then that's the maximum that will be spent, and we'll purchase as many as we can afford to purchase, up to $20,000 total.
Right, that's right.
Okay,
So let's-
I have to say something. That's not how you, the bond council will ask me how many fountains.
Then get me a
There it is.
By then, we might know.
So, could you interrupt them, please, so I
By
can
then,
ask this?
I have to do the ordinance for.
Okay,
April 7th.
Susan, I have a question for you. Susan? Lizette,
Yes.
Yes, hold on, Mayor has the floor.
I have a question for Susan. If I am able to get Susan the number of how many fountains we can buy for $20,000. I'll have that to her tomorrow morning. Will that work? And the number is maxed at 20.
Okay, Susan, the mayor's question is if he could tell you at the max number of 20, the number of fountains that can be installed, so that way you can let bond council know whether 20 would cover 5, 4, 2, 1, but just put that as a number and he'll quantify the number of fountains
Tomorrow morning.
tomorrow morning.
Yes,
Okay?
yes.
Is the council agree on that? Do we need to poll the council?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, poll the
Can I
council.
just ask a question while Bob's there?
Yes.
Since this is a filtration system, in terms of maintenance, upkeep, and additional to the operating and replacing filters, what would we estimate for a year?
I can't answer that question because I don't know what model you're looking at. I have no clue. No clue what you're looking, which one you would decide on. So you decide on the make and model, I can't answer any questions.
Look, we have water fountains now that aren't even working, so this is so unacceptable for our town.
So what is being
Well, we
proposed by
five
Mr.
we just heard, right, that are sitting there, 5 brand new ones?
Brand new,
Yep.
Yep, we have 5 brand new ones.
save the money for other projects and install what we have, brand new, unused.
Which, look, the whole idea was that we have the bottle fillers so that people don't use.
Okay, so
plastic
again,
bottles.
Yes, we know.
okay, we have a financial question here.
I'm trying to move this town forward. I don't know what you're doing.
Okay, we have a financial question on the floor that goes along with the capital budget. The question is, does the council want to allocate $20,000 in the capital budget for the water filtration fountains? If we don't do that, we'll use the existing ones that we have in the DPW.
Okay.
Yes or no, please poll the council.
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
No.
Okay, next question, please.
So was that, is that in the existing?
No, that was to put in the budget for 20,000, and
Oh,
and the
okay.
mayor will let you know tomorrow how many 20,000 would cover, so that way you can let bond council
Okay.
know.
Okay,
I had another item that we've already discussed that I don't see in the budget.
Okay, next question.
I had an item that we've already discussed in the first capital that's not in this capital given. We discussed landscaping for the parks and playgrounds. I proposed 15, we put it down to 10. That's what I have on my list.
Is landscaping capital or is that operating?
Well, it's the purchase of flowering trees and bushes.
Yeah, that's not capital, it doesn't have a useful life you can bond for.
It has to,
Okay,
the
well,
useful life
Can
has
we
to
put
be
it
the
in the-
minimum 5 years under the local bond law.
Trees, we have a whole tree budget separate and apart, so it's really just talking about whatever besides trees.
Our garden club
And then
is always
maybe-
in for projects as well, so.
Okay, Councilman Menon has a question.
Maybe we can, get the garden club and the DPW to work together. The garden club can design, whatever they want to put in. Maybe we can reach out to the community for donations on flowers and shrubs, and the trees can come out of the tree fund. And landscapers too.
So I have a question for Susan. Susan, so we have a tree fund. If we decide to plant, evergreen bushes instead of trees, can the council use the money for that if they chose to?
is Bob still there?
Yes.
Bob, when you plant trees, do they come out of the trust?
Yes.
Because I don't know off the top of my head what the process is
I
that.
don't know what the balance in the trust is either, Susan.
We have a pending
No, I
borough-wide
can find
program
the
for the
balance.
spring.
I just wanted, what?
We have a pending borough-wide tree planting program that we went out to bid for that's supposed to start in the spring, so that, whatever money's in the trust has to cover that contract. And there wasn't enough
Okay,
before I
so-
went on leave.
So, but I don't know if like, I'd have to find out a little more about what the shrubs and everything else. Like, sometimes if you do it as part of a project, as a whole, then it could be in capital. Like, there's more to this. Like, is there another project that's going to be done to improve the playground? Like, because that could be part of the overall project.
Yeah, we were supposed to have 10 in for the playground stuff this year, weren't we? We discussed that.
What playground? The only playground we have is for Walnut Park that will be put in open space, and our match would be we're being reimbursed by the Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund award. That's the only playground in this budget. And that's for a playground.
That, weren't we
and the
discussing
concrete
putting something in Froggy this year?
No, Friday was all redone.
No, I'm asking Jeff.
At Froggy?
Weren't we discussing last year that this year we would budget to put something in Froggy?
No, we talked about a couple of tables with covers. We talked about that, yeah.
Or something, yeah.
Right, we
something
have
like that.
some money somewhere.
Okay, so we'll use that.
Okay, so where are we here,
Still there. So how
Lizette?
do I get shrubs
That can't be
I-
and
capital.
hydrangeas and azaleas?
Let me find out. Like, sometimes in the ordinance, it'll say, playground equipment and, improvement to the park. So, let me just find out, because sometimes if it's done as an overall project or part of a project, sometimes they bundle things with it. Let me find out if this could comply or if it's too much of a stretch. I need to ask bond counsel.
Okay, so Lizette,
Verify.
do we need to vote on this, or?
Well, Susan needs, council has to decide whether or not to put it as a placeholder in case bond council says yes to it has to be part of a total project of a current park project, and the only park project we have is the Walnut Park playground and the concrete seating. And that
I
grant.
thought we were weren't we gonna replant Roosevelt Commons this year? The plants and flowers?
No, there's a pending question to the borough attorney to find out if open space funds can be used for an entire overview study for Roosevelt Commons to accommodate a pavilion, to accommodate an open space passive area, an active area, and historical element. But that's a separate discussion that I'm waiting to see if that is the proper use of
I'm not
open
talking about that.
space.
I'm talking about we cleared around the pond, our DPW guys cleared around the pond, and we cut back all the grass
Yeah, because it was an invasive species.
against the duck. And then we were gonna replant this spring.
That was coming out of operating. That's coming out of operating,
That's
to put in the proper species of
Perfect.
plant in that
Perfect.
area.
Okay, so let's get focused back here.
I'm good,
Does-
I'm good.
does the, she's dropping it? Next question. Any other questions on capital before we go back to the roads?
We have to go to the tree truck and then,
Say that, William?
we have to go to the tree truck first and then.
What is happening on the library? Do we have anything else on the library?
Well,
that's it?
today I spoke to bond counsel, and we're trying to figure out, they're estimating the project to be at $910,000. We're trying to figure out whether or not the whole amount would need to be appropriated, which then that would not work. So in the interim, by tomorrow, we'll know what we're doing. However, the 175 in the capital plan is not going to change. So we just have to work out how much of the work the library will be able to do.
So what was our decision on the skate park? 125 out of open space?
Skate park was a no.
No, I thought we were coming back to the skate park,
That's what I thought too. I have it in my notes to go back to it.
as do I.
Okay, so we moved off the library now onto the skate park. So what are the comments about it?
Going back to my notes.
I thought we were gonna do the whole area as a Roosevelt Commons project now.
Correct, and I was waiting to
I
hear
thought-
if
I
that was
thought-
an and to use open space money
Right.
to do that study, and based on, since the open space trust fund is based off of a state statute, that required an attorney's opinion for Bill to look into it to determine if that is an acceptable use. Because it's not
I
something
had
that's
100
tangible.
in open space and 50 for a plan.
I didn't
not
have
it?
that, I don't know.
No, we have too many preliminary,
All right.
we have too many preliminary questions that aren't answered.
Good discussion, I think.
The plan was supposed to be in capital, and the 100,000 was going to be in open space. The answer being because once we have the plan, you could always go after the open space funds. If you don't have the plan budgeted, you're not going to be able to push the ball forward.
Correct.
Yeah, so regardless, we have to just vote if we want to fund the plan, yeah.
Correct. That's the vote needed.
How much is the plan gonna cost?
Oh, I remember this. Yes, I wanted to limit the amount of money we were going to offer for a plan because, right, yeah, we were pulling that out of thin air.
I was asked for two things. Number one, to find out from Bill if open space money can be used for this type of plan. And number two, to find out from the borough engineer what would be an estimate since it's an overall conceptual plan. And I'm still
Oh, yeah.
waiting to hear back on both of them. So I don't have a number to work with and a proper authorization on how to work with that number. That's where it was left off.
And I gotta add, I don't consider this to be anything on our borough administrator because we had an agent or department head come in the middle of the budget and share with us for the first time a totally different concept in the middle of the budget process, which makes it unbelievable that this is being done and this is the way that we're operating.
So
And
we
that's
asked
what
her to
puts
do
us
that.
in this, that's what puts
We
us,
asked her to do that.
no, we told her, no, the last conversation was, here are a couple of plans for skate parks. And we were sitting there saying, these are too expensive. We didn't ask her to come up with a whole Roosevelt area plan. She comes in with a different plan that none of us had seen, or at least I know I had never seen before the budget meeting. And that's just outrageous, unacceptable.
Part of that conversation, though, is we said we were looking for more flow with the green space around it, and she
Only
came back and
because,
delivered.
only because she came in the middle of the budget with this. Only because of that. That whole discussion stemmed from her having a totally new proposal in the 0 hour. And that is not the way departments should operate in our borough. It's not the way we should be operating. This is ridiculous.
So so the two concepts we saw, the actual skate parks, was the original two concepts. They had meetings with the actual skate kids, the skaters, and this is the second concept with their input built in.
Yeah, and when do we get the second concept? We got it last week.
We got it last week. And
Right.
seeing that concept, instead of funding just a skate park, because this was now a plaza design, I suggested we do a whole Roosevelt Commons design instead.
I agree with you, but I don't know how much that's even to design going to cost because we've had zero time from when they suggested this to today.
I'm with you.
I don't know how much that will cost.
Correct, 'cause we don't even know what the Roosevelt Commons area can accommodate as well. It's not a full plan.
If we do not put a line item, we can't work
Lizette,
on
I
it.
wanna
And you
make a
guys
comment.
know that. If we do not put a line item, we cannot actually get anything developed to work on. I can't believe you wouldn't even put a line item for a median that was for a grant, when we're eligible for a grant.
Okay.
You won't even work
That's
on
an
the
annual
project. You guys are running backward.
Okay, so I want to interject here.
We're running
Dan, hold on a second. I want to interject something here. There's lots of great ideas going around. There's no question about that. And they all have value. They all have pluses and minuses. They all cost money. And one consistent theme that we've been doing for years, and it's even members of this council who aren't even here now anymore, is that we spend too much time at budget time debating concepts, and we really need to start this conceptual capital project discussion July 1st of this year, so that we have 6 months to go back and forth to get quotes. None of these engineering firms, these architectural firms, these people don't do anything in a day or a week. Everything takes weeks and weeks and months, and that's without even state agencies involved. And I'm going to suggest to the council that we have our first budget meeting for 2021 and capital plans somewhere around July 1st. And then we talk about it every month, and then we get proposals, we get numbers, and we can flush out ideas. And this way, by December 31st of 2020, we should already know what's going in our capital. And this conversation should be nothing but a vote at this stage in the game next year.
Correct.
Absolutely correct.
But can I just respond, because I did exactly that. I pitched this idea, Mark, to you in like the fall. I got the engineering company to come in and look. I met with the police. I did all the homework on a project. I got the numbers. Now we're saying no one can move it because the number's not written on a sheet of paper to Lizette, when the number was presented to you by Mazer in person. So what else am I supposed to be doing between July and budget season that I didn't already accomplish? And now I'm being told it's not fleshed out enough.
Not having the discussion completely offline with the police, with Mazer, with everybody, without bringing those people to the borough so we can ask the same or tougher questions.
Yeah, I don't think...
It's that simple.
3 times.
Andy came one time to discuss this in the budget process.
Okay,
I pitched it in December. He came either in January or December when I pitched it to the whole council at a council meeting.
All right, guys, let's move.
2 months ago, 3 months ago.
We need to move
We need to move forward here.
Fine, move forward.
We need to move on. Next item, Lizette.
That moves the town forward.
Okay. So we have the 2 outstanding items of the tree truck and what the final amount will be for the road project.
And the skate park.
No, we're not.
Didn't you just say we need more information on that?
Lauren, the council's saying no to progress on the skate park.
Right.
Adam, that's really unnecessary. We are saying yes to progress that's responsible. I could respond that way, but that's not even right.
Okay.
We need to
I don't
have...
think I'm being irresponsible, Jess. I'm doing all the work I need to do as a council person.
I have not, again, we'll have this discussion at a future council meeting. We'll go through ways that we can make this a smoother process, ways that we can achieve the goals we all really do want to achieve. We will do that. That will be a high priority after the budget season.
Yeah, I think these, I'm serious.
I would appreciate that.
We should start the 2021 capital in July as a full council and not operate, on a subcommittee basis, and we just constantly talk about this as a body, and then we have constant input from each other. It'll flow much easier, and we'll get more done. But let's move on to the next topic here.
Okay, so going back to the last 2 items, the tree truck that is needed for
272.
I'm on the second page. For 272,854. So, going back, in order for Susan to finalize this capital budget, it was on hold, it cannot be a shared service item. Is the governing body putting in this tree truck for a capital purchase, or are you gonna put in the 400,000 in operating?
Would you say 400?
Around 400,000 a year.
Wait.
Yeah, it'd be just for this year, 400.
Where did the 400,000 come from, the number?
$400,000 came from the work that was performed last year. We had 540 citizen requests for tree work, and that number's based on the ECNJ contract, which we're members of, and it's based on last year's volume of work, and that comes out to $400,000.
We spent $400,000 last year because we didn't have the truck?
No, then, Bob, wait, time out.
You'll have
They're not,
$400,000 in the operating budget in order to do the tree work throughout town.
That's what we did last year.
Yes, that's what we did last year,
Based
540,
on the work we did last year.
based on the work that we did last
If we
year.
outsourced
And this
at that
excludes,
job number, that's what it would cost.
Councilman Menon has a question.
I have a question for Bill, it's for Bob.
He looks like a
Take it away
Bill.
from
You
it.
could be a
you know what, call me Bill, because Bob didn't give you prices.
Okay, so the 272 that's mentioned in the capital budget, where is that, what kind of equipment is it? What's the name, the company, is it Terex or whatever? You were saying we're staying away from them. Okay.
Will someone please repeat the question?
Councilman Menon is asking Mr. Culver, where did he get that estimate from, and if it's from the same company that has that class action lawsuit?
And what are the
Mr.
details?
Culver said, no, it's not from that vendor, and he's about to explain the details of the vehicle.
All right, thank you, Lizette.
It's purchasing the chassis. So you're buying a truck, a chassis, and then I have to buy the lift, and the two have to be married together. It's done out in, from W.E. Timmerman is the representative for the Altech group.
So this is a quote, this isn't from the shared, whatever.
From one of the co-ops.
From
Is
one
it
of the co-ops, yeah.
You're purchasing it through a co-op, or where are you buying it from?
I'll be buying the chassis through a co-op, but the boom will have to be bid.
Can we take any existing trucks and fit a boom to that?
No,
There's nothing we can do to...
no, I looked at that. I mean, I have the existing tree truck is almost 20 years old, so...
No, I get that.
If you put a new boom on that truck, within 5 years, you're gonna have to take it off and put it on another chassis. So, and maybe it could be less than 5 years. It just doesn't make any sense to put a new boom on an old truck. It's just doesn't.
But
make
there are no
financial
other
sense.
trucks that we have in our...
No.
Any other questions for the council, from the council on the boom truck?
No.
So do a roll call, poll the council, please, Lizette.
Okay, so this is to include the aerial lift truck in the capital budget for 272,854. Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels.
I love giving money to DPW. Sure, what the hell?
15 minutes and not verbatim. Councilmember O'Connor,
Budget, the DPW, 74.7%.
Councilmember O'Connor,
Yes?
and Councilmember Park.
Yes?
Okay, so the final item is exactly what is the amount to be appropriated for the road program and whether anything is being allocated from that amount to microsurfacing.
Can we get a total of the capital without this in it and what the tax rate looks like?
So right now, you're at 5,786.
What's that number?
No, 5,784,807.
578.
Including this program?
Does that
yeah.
include the full road program of 1.5 million? Okay,
Okay.
so that's what it is. So are we going back to the original question from where we started regarding Councilman Menon's suggestion? Is that what the council wants to do?
I would do
Can we
less.
up it?
I would do
I would do 250 maintenance, 250 roads only, and that puts us at 1.75 roads. Still the biggest road program we've ever done, plus 250 for maintenance, which puts us at a $2 million road program.
Okay, so let's
And then
go,
still is more responsible. for the
can
taxpayer.
can council people please weigh in on their opinions? Do they want to vote on Councilman Menon's program or a different program?
Wait, Lauren, I missed the last numbers, so can you just summarize again?
Instead of 500 and 250, I would do 250, 250, which puts us at even 2 mil, and it is still a huge road program at $2 million.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Any other questions?
I would suggest 2.5 in micro and 1 mil flat on road.
1 million?
Additional over the 1.5?
Are you saying 1 million?
250 in micro.
Was that, ask the governing body to do the microsurfacing first. I'll put the number in, and then let's decide on the road.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a roll call on adding 250,000 only on microsurfacing at this time. Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
No.
Councilmember O'Connor,
Yes?
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, so 250 is being added for microsurfacing. Now what needs to be determined is what will be the number for the mill and pave.
So Councilman Menon's,
Now you're at 6,034,000. The 1.5 is still in there, so you could adjust from that number.
okay, so
6
Councilman,
million, how much, Susan?
6,034,000.
okay, so the question really comes back, the question comes back to Councilman Menon's original question for 500,000 for road paving. Yes or no?
Okay, I'm gonna do the roll call. Councilmember Dayton,
No, because I want 250.
okay. Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
No.
Councilmember O'Connor,
Yes?
Councilmember Park.
No.
Council Tyson, Mayor Zena.
Yes.
So the road resurfacing it will be reduced from 1.5 to 500,000.
Okay.
What is the tax
No,
rate here?
Does anybody know how many roads they'll be able to do with that, or no?
No,
We'll get at least 15.
Okay, so Bob, Susan, Bob will be able to discuss that with you in detail tomorrow.
well, we have to see how the bids come in.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course, but he'll fill her in a little bit on how that process
We
works.
put 20 on the list, so I'm assuming we're taking out half of the second list.
Well, when you see how the bids come in and you quantify, for 500,000, are you gonna do, if you do smaller roads or bigger roads, so that, by having it as an alternate, you have a lot more leeway with deciding, so.
And Susan, what does it come down to?
Our total,
So budget's
our
503,
total capital is 5,034,000.
Yeah, 503.
807, we will need 251,000 down payment to put in more in case we do extra projects. Maybe another 25,000. So we could bring down the capital improvement fund, maybe like 280.
From your original 325 estimate?
Yeah, now we can make it like 280. Well, I had 300 in there. I was gonna bring it up, depending on what was decided tonight. But I think if we bring it down to 280 from 300, that'll be good.
And where does that leave us at the cap? 2%? 1.9?
I didn't figure it out yet, because I have to change revenue now.
Oh, yeah.
I have to really look at this again, everyone, because of the current circumstances. Plus, there's something else I can tell you. We need to put, just for what's been going on, for cleaning, ServPro, and everything else, I'm gonna be putting in the temporary budget another $40,000 that just came in invoices, and that may have to go in this budget.
So,
Because it was not part of it before.
So Susan, are we keeping track of all of our costs that we could potentially get reimbursed from FEMA or the state government?
I am. We have a spreadsheet that we are tracking everything.
They're tracking everything.
Including,
And so we're at 40,000 in emergency money?
Well, it just started, so we could start tracking the hours, too.
Okay.
can you make sure that goes back to the day state of emergency was enacted?
Yes.
You know
I
what,
haven't really had to do anything until just the last couple of days.
I think our actions
Yep.
predate the official state of emergency. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Dan?
Now that's going though, because we have to pay for these things,
Yeah.
and we don't know when we're gonna get reimbursed.
Correct.
We have to
We'll
do
see,
them.
we'll see in 3 years, 4 years.
Are there any other
Yeah.
questions we need? Are you, okay. Susan, do you have any, Susan, do you need any other questions answered from the council members, or do you have any questions for us or them?
So tomorrow, tomorrow I'm gonna be doing a couple of things. One is I'm gonna roll all these numbers up. I'm gonna look at the budget again. I'm gonna probably be putting, because I couldn't do it today, a purchasing assistant in my budget, but it will be reallocated, most of it, to the library. And the temporary amount that I have in my budget for $5,200, I want to allocate to the purchasing assistant. So that
Why do they get, wait, why is the library responsible for purchasing of the borough? How does
It's
that
not,
work?
well, okay, I shouldn't say that. I am going to use but I'm going to put in my budget a purchasing assistant, and that will be derived from funds that are going to be reallocated to the library for financial services that we've been doing for them that they should be paying for. And that came
How
up
much is
during the
remaining?
budget.
How much is
Excuse me?
remaining? How much is remaining above what you're earning from them?
What do you mean remaining?
What's-
So
what is
how
she
much of the
asking?
salary isn't being covered by that?
Well, I'm going to charge them back for like 10% of the accounts payable person, because we do about 10% of the invoices for them of the total. 12% from our payroll person, because that's how many employees as compared to borough and library we do. I'm doing an allocation on. So it comes out, overall, it'll be about $15,000 that gets charged back. And with that $15,000, I want to try to get a purchasing assistant and add to that, take out my temporary line for 5,200 and put that in with it and try to get someone in, which I think everybody would agree. The capital plan has really went up, and we need to start scanning our quotes into Edmunds. We need to do more with the backup and the details of all of our purchasing. Last year we had 2 audit findings, and they were both related to purchasing. So we're trying to really hone in on this. And I'm trying to make it cost neutral to the borough. And I tried to find a way to do it. But even if I didn't get a purchasing assistant, I was going to charge back the library for services last year. but I didn't get a chance to do it. And then I sought out other CFOs and asked them what they do. And there are a lot of boroughs that charge back services to their library.
Okay, any other questions that you need from the council?
Hold on a second, Mark. We need, as a council, to vote yes or no on that.
Well, I just had a question. Before we vote, I just had a question. Do we have, for the road program, there were a number of mentions that this is the largest ever. I assume we have quotes from outside contractors and or confirmations from the DPW that we actually have the staff and or the contractors to use up all of this spend that we're putting to the road?
Jeff, you want to take this one? You did.
Well, I'll let Bob answer that.
Bob, answer that question, please.
The road program goes out to bid through the Riverside Cooperative. We provide them all the quantities necessary to do your road program. They're submitted to the Riverside. It goes out to bid, and then from there on, the contract's awarded, and the milling and paving proceeds. The micro paving is done under state contract. We'll come up with the roads for that. The council will approve them and award a contract to asphalt paving systems under the state contract.
To add to that, in last year's capital budget, there was a pavement management study in which all the roads were inventoried and ranked. And to come up with the numbers, it was the length of the road, the condition of the road, the estimated cost of asphalt. So that's how those estimated numbers were derived at in order to prepare the budget. Those numbers are not provided to the contractors. What's provided to them are the bid specifications of the actual work that has to be done. And as the bids come in, we look at, under local public contracts law, we have to look at the 3 lowest bidders to see who is the most responsive and responsible bidder, and then compare it to what we have set aside in the budget, and that's how we award a contract.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. My question was specifically to, let me give an example. If I gave you $100 billion to spend on the roads, it's unlikely that we have enough internal staff and or there's enough contractors out there to do every road in our town. And just logistically, you can't close every road at once. My question is specific to, at this level, are we sure that we have either the internal staff to do it and or enough contractors out there that will do all the work? The reason why I bring it up is I know, again, I asked before, there's lots of money in ordinances, and the DPW director said he just couldn't, he didn't have the staff to get the job done. And that's why there's so much money still in the ordinances.
Okay, so just...
I'm asking at this level, at the $2 million or whatever level we're at, is it guaranteed that it will all be spent next year? We have the time and people to spend it next year.
Okay, to go back on what caused the balance, it had nothing to do with staff. There were the estimates, and then the bids came. And then the bids came in, and based on actual quantities, because the driving factor is the cost of asphalt. The job was done, and based on the asphalt needed and what it cost, we didn't spend that much, and then we do a change order to decrease. Change orders to decrease, which result in balances, are based on looking at when the job is complete, how much of the job that we spent. So certain prices fluctuate, and luckily, we've been in a good span where once the job was awarded and completed, our change orders have been decreases as opposed to other municipalities where their change orders are increases. So it had nothing to do with staffing capability or contractor capability. It was once the work was done, all the materials were brought in such a good price, lower than estimated.
Okay, so I apologize. One last time and then I'll stop. With the amount of money we're putting down, are we certain that we could spend all the money this year?
So, Adam, I'm going to address that. We have, I'm doing this from memory, so I might be off for a mile or two. We have 54 miles of town road and approximately 4 miles of county road, and it costs about $640,000 a mile to fully mill and pave a road. So we're going to be doing about, what's that math, about 3, maybe 4 miles worth of roads?
I know we need millions, tens of millions of dollars matter of the ability to
About
actually do it.
3.5.
It's okay.
3.5
I tried
3.5
3 times. It's
miles.
okay. No worries.
Okay.
I think the answer is yes, but the number may come in. For the reasons Lizette said.
All right, next, any other
Does
questions?
anybody want
Wait, question for Bob while he's still there. I have a question for Bob.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Bob, with the drop in oil prices, will that affect asphalt prices too?
Absolutely.
That's good.
The price per barrel definitely dictates the price of asphalt.
Yeah. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second? Oh,
Second?
do we have a second?
What are we?
Motion to adjourn. Oh, Julie.
Did someone second?
Julie.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Just pull out your mayor.